Listening to Fox News.
Israel's advancing into Gaza City, part of a new military offensive. Fox's Jeff Paul has more on aid that's coming into the region.
Israel has faced a lot of criticism over not only how much aid they're pumping into Gaza, but also how that aid is being handed out. We went into Gaza with the IDF as they showed us how they're trying to change how that all works. Unlike the other GHF sites, which are surrounded by sand berms and razor wire, often a scene of chaos and desperation, the new site has concrete walls and plans for a designated entrance and exit. The IDF says they're trying to make sure civilians can not only receive aid before Hamas does, but they can get there in a safe manner.
China showing off its latest warship on the South China Sea as the U.S. looks to increase its own shipbuilding capabilities. Fox's Jennifer Griffin reports.
Flexing its military might in the South China Sea, Beijing launched a new state-of-the-art amphibious assault ship, which can deploy troops by helicopter and also offload tanks, landing craft, and armored vehicles. A shot across the bow at American shipbuilders and U.S. allies in the region who fear China's thinly veiled expansionist ambitions. China remains the world's largest shipbuilder. China and South Korea control 83% of global commercial shipbuilding. The U.S. just 0.04%.
During a visit to the White House this week, South Korea announced it'll invest $150 billion in U.S. shipbuilding. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un expected to attend China's huge military parade next week in a show of defiance against the West. The parade will also be attended by Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The Powerball jackpot keeps on climbing. It's near $1 billion now. No one grabbed the grand prize Wednesday night, so it rolls over for an estimated $950 million on Saturday. There's a cash value of almost $429 million. I'm Sue Guzman. This is Fox News.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
When the seasons shift, you need a heating and cooling team you can trust to keep your home just right. That's where Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, the original, comes in. This family-owned gem has been a local favorite for more than 45 years, sending only their own top-notch, highly trained technicians to your door. Whether it's a quick repair, a full installation, or anything in between, their work is unmatched, and their customer service feels like family. Keeping you cozy in the winter and cool in the summer, Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling delivers comfort you can count on. I've known Garrett and his family for years, and they are great friends of AM 560. Dial 847-545-1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. Mention AM 560 and enjoy 20% off your first service call. Again, go to arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, but absolutely the best.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Hugh Hewitt is shocked to see action.
First time in 35 years, I think the UN has actually done something. They found a tunnel full of Hezbollah weaponry and explosives. And in concert with the Lebanese army, they blew up the tunnel. So cheers for the UN. They finally did something. Took them as long as I've been on the air.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's August 28th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Bowtie Day. The French military saw the way Croatian soldiers tied the necktie in order to keep their collars on their shirts together during the 30-year war in the 1600s. On this day, way back in 476 AD, the end of the Western Roman Empire, when Augustus, father of 16-year-old Emperor Romulus Augustulus, is captured and executed by Odoacer, a disgruntled Germanic mercenary. In 2011, Katy Perry wins 3 awards, including Top Prize Video of the Year for Firework at MTV's Video Music Awards. Born on this day in 2005, reality TV star Alana Frances Thompson, also known as Honey Boo Boo. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Shoot. Hun, I can't fix this leak.
That's okay, babe. I'll get a plumber.
Oh, boy. What's that going to cost?
I'll let you know in 60 seconds.
Huh?
For a rapid estimate on a plumbing repair, just go to CenterGuardPlumbing.com. Use the easy price calculator and get a quote for many jobs in just 60 seconds.
Okay. It's not going to be much, babe.
Okay. That was fast.
Serving the entire Chicagoland area since 2005, CenterGuard Plumbing is your trusted source for quick, lasting repairs, sewer services, water line solutions, water heater service, to whole house water treatment. And with their online easy price calculator, you can get a free quote in just 60 seconds. Trust CenterGuard to do the job right. Quality work at the lowest prices around. They're family owned with top-notch plumbers that are licensed, bonded, and insured. Whether installing a new faucet or plumbing a new home, you can count on CenterGuard. Get your free quote now at CenterGuardPlumbing.com. They're ready to help.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Paul Preston.
Croscom. A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terrace 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terrace 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they helped me. They calmed me down. They made me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.
You guys know better than anybody that you just can't compete on an equal level playing field with somebody of the opposite gender. It's just not fair. That's a fact.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say on AM 560 The Answer. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings from 11 to 12.
Jenny McGuire is the fresh, bold, unapologetic voice of common sense, constitutional values, and conservative principles. With her sharp wit, she'll tackle the issues that matter most: faith, family, and freedom. Join her and featured guests each week on the Unsafe Space radio show, heard Saturday evening at 7 right here on AM 560 The Answer. And follow Jenny on Facebook at The Unsafe Space with Jenny McGuire.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer. An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Probably heard, but you don't have to take your shoes off anymore when you go to the airport. This really shows you how stupid government bureaucracy is. One guy takes off his shoes, everybody freaks out, and then for 20 years, all the airlines across the country make tens of millions of people actually pull their shoes off.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine. There will be a few thunder showers in the morning, followed by scattered showers in the afternoon. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. Now is a time for us to rally around the trans community. That was my general takeaway from the coverage and commentary from the D.C. Press Corps and, of course, the politicians they serve in Minneapolis and elsewhere after the horrific shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis that claimed the lives of 2 kids, an 8 and a 10-year-old, while 17 others were injured. The principal of Annunciation, Matt DeBoer, had this to say after the school was secured and the injured were treated.
Good afternoon, everyone. To any of our students and families and staff watching right now, I love you. You're so brave, and I'm so sorry this happened to us today. Within seconds of this situation beginning, our teachers were heroes. Children were ducked down. Adults were protecting children. Older children were protecting younger children. And as we heard earlier, it could have been significantly worse without their heroic action. This is a nightmare, but we call our staff the Dream Team. And we will recover from this. We will rebuild from this. When we planned for this school year, we intentionally chose a theme from the prophet Jeremiah chapter 29, a future filled with hope. There's nothing about today that can fill us with hope. We, as a community, have a responsibility to make sure that no child, no parent, no teacher ever has to experience what we've experienced today, ever again. I need everybody to commit those words to your speech patterns, never again. We lost 2 angels today. And please continue to pray for those still receiving care. We can't change the past, but we can do something about the future. There's an African proverb that says, when you pray, move your feet. So I beg you, I ask you to please pray, but don't stop with your words. Let's make a difference and support this community, these children, these families, these teachers. Never again can we let this happen.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line. Pray, you say. Well, that's not really the order of the day in Minneapolis, at least not with the political power structure there, including one Jacob Fry, who at least was considerate enough to offer his remarks in English rather than in his learned language of Somali.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, don't just say thoughts and prayers. I understand, but the idea, this is not sort of missing the point of the entirety of the school in question. This is not the time for prayers. Actually, it is the time for prayers, as you heard from the principal. Jacob Fry probably doesn't realize this, but prayer is something that is important to Catholics and Christians and others of other denominations. But prayer is something that's important to religious people, particularly Catholics, since we're talking about them in this case. And it seems like we're the only ones. I didn't hear much from all of those very concerned about any backlash in the direction of the trans community about the Catholic community and how Catholics and Christians, but particularly Catholics, have been targeted for left-wing violence for, well, quite some time, just in the recent past. The vilification, there's a lot of concern about the villainization and the vilification of trans individuals. I didn't hear the same consideration for Catholics. And it's not just because of what happened a couple of years ago in Covenant School in Nashville that I mentioned this, the school shooting there, also trans, as you'll recall, and other incidents of Catholic schools being targeted. It's also because, CatholicVote.org has documented this, since 2020, more than 500 Catholic churches have been attacked. And the attacks ramped up a few years back in 22, after 22, when the Dobbs decision was handed down. And that doesn't include pro-life and pro-family organizations and their offices and individuals who've also been attacked because of a disagreement about theology, a disagreement about how society should be ordered, a disagreement about policy as it pertains to abortion. And as we talked about when we brought this up before, I mean, any other faith whose institutions were attacked as routinely as people of the Catholic faith's institutions are, this would be big news. This would be wall-to-wall coverage. We would be having, interfaith conferences to discuss what can be done to stop the incidents of violence in the direction of Catholic institutions and particularly conservative Catholics because of their faith and because of how their faith informs their political beliefs. I didn't hear much of that yesterday. What I heard from people like ABC's Aaron Katersky reporting on this is a lot of effort to sanitize exactly what we were dealing with there in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, with this individual who committed these barbaric crimes. And not much inquisitiveness or introspection.
23-year-old Robin Westman was able to leave what police called a video manifesto that they're now going through to try and establish motive. We've also been going through it and can tell you there are crude diagrams of the church. There are also photos of the weapons, and they include all sorts of writings, the names of past mass shooters, criticism of Israel, the name of President Trump written on the guns. There are also racial slurs, nihilistic statements, all painting the picture of a disturbed individual who carried out this mass shooting on the first week of school at the Annunciation Church in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm. Let's be specific, don't you think, Aaron? I watched that 7-minute video that he's referring to as well, where the shooter pans across the guns and the ammo that he has, the magazines, as well as the guns themselves, and all the different messages he has scrawled on them. And it is a he, by the way, pretending to be a she, was kill Donald Trump. Israel must fall. 6 million wasn't enough. Burn Israel. Kill Trump now. There are, as he said, I won't repeat the racial slurs because it's unnecessary, but there are racial slurs also inscribed that he, as I said, scrawled onto weapons that in the direction of Hispanic or Latino people, in the direction of black people as well. But now's the time we rally around the trans community.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
No, actually, it's Jacob Fry who's lost his sense of common humanity, if he ever had it. He's never demonstrated it in public life. Maybe before he was a politician, he had it. I'm not sure. I can only go by what I see from his public behavior. And we'll build on that when we come back at 5:38. Take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. 2 children are dead in a bloody start to the school year in Minneapolis. 17 other people were injured when a gunman opened fire through the windows of the Annunciation Catholic School. It happened during a mass celebrating the first week of school. The FBI identified the shooter as 23-year-old Robin Westman, who police say killed himself, and are investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. Washington, D.C.'s mayor says the presence of federal agents in the city is not working, but adds President Trump's surge of federal law enforcement has lowered crime in her city.
Mayor Muriel Bowser criticized the deployment of masked ICE agents and National Guard troops from out of state, but nevertheless credited federal law enforcement for less crime.
This is what we think in just a couple of weeks of experience has worked. Having more federal law enforcement officers on the street.
She went on to express concern that the city's residents are living in fear. Bowser also said she had a conversation with President Trump on Wednesday, but wouldn't say what they spoke about. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But
Mike Gallagher wants to see credit where credit is due.
What are the progressives who hate Trump going to do if Trump brokers peace between Russia and Ukraine? What are the lefties who are all enamored with Ukraine going to say about Trump, hypothetically, achieving peace between these two warring countries?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's SPECTRIOS.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
Hey, if you're sending your child off to college this fall, make sure you give them more than a backpack and a laptop. You need to give them peace of mind. This world is a very dangerous place. Go to Byrna, B-Y-R-N-A. It is the less lethal launcher, and it is the ultimate off-campus protection without the legal, financial, or emotional burden of using a firearm. I carry one every single day. I recommend anyone concerned about personal safety or the safety of their family, you need one as well. By the way, it's legal in all 50 states. They can ship it straight to your door. And don't forget, over 500 government agencies now are using this incredible technology because you can incapacitate any perpetrator for 30 to 40 minutes. Legal all 50 states, no background check required, and it fires those kinetic rounds. Just go to byrna.com, all hand assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Visit Byrna, byrna.com today and find the right launcher for your family. That's byrna.com.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine, along with a few thunder showers in the morning and a chance of showers later on. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Craig Bolanos, powered by VestGen Wealth Partners, Sunday morning at 10 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft talking about the fallout from the Annunciation Catholic School shooting in Minneapolis yesterday. That trans shooter claiming the life of two children, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, injuring 17 more, some reportedly critically injured. We'll update the condition on those other victims as information becomes available. Before we get to the ugliness of it all in these moments, and unfortunately we've had to cover so many of these incidents, these mass killings and crimes, there's always some heroism as well, though. I mean, you see the goodness and even the greatness in people, even the kids. Listen to this fifth grader's account of what happened when bullets started flying.
What happened with him? Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. And then my friend, he was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a nick on your neck?
Yeah, that was, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
But that came from during this?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? You seem pretty put together here, but it's got to be tough.
Yeah, I'm just like confused.
Yeah, we're all confused, young man. And boy, but I mean, another grade schooler jumps on his friend to cover him amid the gunfire. Well, that's what Matt DeBoer, the principal, said. You had both parents and students acting heroically to try to protect one another when that maniac opened fire at Annunciation. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. As I was saying before the break, Jacob Fry and all these people talking about our common humanity and having to, needing to respond to hate with love and all of the refrigerator magnet trite phrases that you hear from politicians in this time, particularly the identitarians who rush to ensure that nobody makes sweeping generalizations about a particular community because a bad actor from that community committed horrific acts. So it's rally around the trans community right now. It's very reminiscent of post 9/11 when you would have radical Islamist terrorist attacks here in Western Europe. And it would be, in this moment, let's be sure that we don't vilify the Muslim community. When in point of fact, very few people were vilifying the Muslim community in this sense that, adults can separate a person who shares certain characteristics of another person by their behavior. That's what adults do. Identitarians are not adults, which is why I can understand their knee-jerk reaction, because they are mainly concerned with shared identity, shared characteristics, your intersectional score, as opposed to your character and your conduct. So I can understand their confusion. But no one is vilifying the trans community in the sense that, yes, I recognize, as does anybody else with common sense, that not everybody who identifies as trans has committed a violent act, much less a school shooting. Therefore, it's a more complicated equation than it normally is for these same identitarians when it's somebody whose characteristics they don't share who commits an act of violence, and they're ready to rush and claim this is my political opponent. This is representative of my political opponents. All of them. All 75 million people who voted for Trump are insurrectionists, are enemies of the state. Remember that, for example? And one of the things that does is blur the distinctions in terms of the incidents. I recognize that not all people who identify as trans are violent or will commit a violent act. But the incidence is the issue, because a small percentage of a sizable number can be a sizable problem. Those things I would say routinely with respect to radical Islamist terrorists. Yes, I recognize 1.5 billion Muslims the world over are not the problem. A small percentage of non-peaceful pluralist Muslims, radical Islamist terrorists, are the problem. But what's that number? Is it 1%? Well, 1% of 1.5 billion is 15 million. That's a big problem, isn't it? And so assessing people that I would suggest have mental challenges by evidence of the fact they're identifying as a sex that is not their biological sex, what exactly is that incidence? I think that's a fair question. This is not rounding anybody up. This is not making sweeping generalizations. But this, rally around, find a trans person and give them a hug today. How about a little bit of an interfaith rallying around people who are actually being targeted, mainly by leftist-inspired violence, as a matter of course. And I'm talking about Catholics and Christians and Jews, but particularly Catholics and Jews. And frankly, on the Jewish front, I really do want to hear from Jewish people, Jewish theologians, Jewish politicians rallying around their Catholic brothers and sisters the way that so many of us have rallied around Jewish people amid the virulent anti-Semitism that has spread on college campuses and, of course, in the House and Senate Democrat caucuses as well. 500 attacks on Catholic churches from 2020 to present. And again, that doesn't include pro-life and pro-family organizations also been attacked because people disagree with the Dobbs decision. So let's go vandalize a church or attack a priest or attack a pro-life activist. 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Dan. How are you?
Good.
The whole thing with the trans, I know you made some really good points already, and I agree with the one with, that trans accident that happened in Tennessee. It wasn't an accident, it was a murder. And the manifesto from the person, we never got to see any of that information. And I'm afraid they're going to do the same thing with this. They're not going to share any information. I know the one thing that really stood out for me was when he scrolled, "Where's your God?" You know,
Yes,
and
that was one of the.
you know, and really, you got to focus on those young children that gave their lives. You know, they covered. You just had a clip on it. You know, where they shielded other children, and you know, where there's hatred. And where there is murder, you know, God, there'll be some good that'll come out of this, hopefully, you know, and hopefully they'll understand that this whole transphobia stuff is it's really it's so crazy that people can think they can be another sex. I don't get it.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Well, I mean, we did see some of the Nashville Covenant Shooters manifesto, although it took quite a bit. Took a while. The FBI released more than 100 pages of writings from that shooter, maps, faculty lists, anti-Christian diatribes. We've gone over that. So some of that was released, but it was painstaking to get transparency and full disclosure. And in part because, again, the D.C. press corps runs interference for it. Here, remember ABC News reporting? In the wake of the Covenant School shooting in Nashville?
State of Tennessee earlier this month passed and the governor signed a bill that banned transgender medical care for minors, as well as a law that prohibited adult entertainment, including male and female impersonators, after a series of drag show controversies in that state.
So it was the quote-unquote anti-trans laws in Nashville that was the proximate cause of the Covenant School shooting. That's ABC News. While they're whitewashing, I just played Aaron Katersky's report yesterday, just exactly what we do have from this shooter in Minneapolis already in terms of the messages that he sent through the video that he made of the weapons that he had. It's really dishonest. Of course it is. They have an agenda. So what do they say now? They can't say anti-trans laws in Minnesota because it's a trans sanctuary state.
And I want all of you just to know exactly where we are as far as our neighbors go. Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for undocumented immigrants, for our trans community.
Yeah, that's your Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry standing next to the Minnesota congressional delegation, including the always entertaining Ilhan Omar, Brotherly Love Spice of the Socialist Spice Girls. Whatever trans sanctuary means, I'll tell you what they say it means. It just means we're going to ignore any federal action that would prohibit what we call gender-affirming care, what other more reasonable people might call the mutilation of children. And this is Keith Ellison, the Attorney General in the state of Minnesota, 2 days ago, bragging about suing Trump over the same issue.
Dude, 44 times, and we'll sue him 44 more and 44 more after that. And we have sued him for gender-affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community. And we have sued him to stand up for medical research, National Institute.
No, we're not going to scapegoat him we're not going to scapegoat our trans community, but we're happy to watch as people target our Catholic community. So, as I said, the press corps can't go with it's an anti-trans culture in Minneapolis, and that was the proximate cause. The argument they literally insinuated in response to the Nashville Covenant School shooting. Can't do that here, so we're going to have to take some different angles. And they're happy to do it. George in Naperville.
Yes, Stan, has our Governor Pritzker taken the preventative measure to let it be known that if anyone comes after his trans people, they'll have to go through him?
Yeah, thanks for the call, George. Kip in Stillman Valley.
Yeah, here we go, twisting and contorting the news media. Like you just put your finger on. This happened 2-3 days right after their big powwow there with all these leaders of the Democrats that are supposed to represent everyone. And the things that they said that I heard when they were having it, I wonder if that child that did this horrific thing followed that.
Well, thanks for the call, Kip. He wasn't a child. I mean, he was, I guess he was 17 when he changed his name from Robert to Robin, or had his name changed. According to court documents, he was 17. And that was 6 years ago. So he wasn't a child. On the topic of news coverage, again, just a little bit of institutional memory here. This from 2023 in the wake of the Nashville Covenant School shooting. Top executives of CBS News have banned staffers from using the word transgender when reporting on the Nashville shooter, despite the fact that police have said the shooter was just that and cited it as a key point in the case. Why would they do that? Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, I was going to say that the trans community is such a small percentage, but yet they committed 2 horrific crimes now. Now, here's my question about obtaining a weapon. This individual obtained a weapon. He had gender dysphoria, which is a mental illness. How could he have legally gotten a weapon with a mental illness like that? I think the ATF needs to really push that if you have a mental illness such as gender euphoria, you should not be able to get a weapon.
Yeah, well, that is not the position of the political power structure in Minnesota, of course, that being trans is a mental illness. So that, it'll be a fight. I mean, it's the same thing. The politicization of these diagnoses, being trans isn't a mental illness, being transphobic is, you see. By the way, it's not 2 incidents of violence. The Nashville school shooting, this one, Colorado Springs, do you remember? A mass shooting that began just before midnight in an LGBTQ club that left 5 dead and 25 injured. The shooter there was trans. Denver, Colorado, 1 student killed and a further 8 were injured during a shooting at a STEM school Highlands Ranch, south of Denver. The shooter, a born female, but was asked to be referred to as male as they were transitioning at the time of the shooting. That was in 2019. Aberdeen, Maryland, 4 people shot and killed at a pharmaceuticals distribution center in the city, 26 miles northeast of Baltimore. Police said the shooter, a 26-year-old who they identified as female, a friend told the Washington Post that shooter suffered from bipolar and depression, which they linked to feelings of rejection when he first came out as gay and then later transgender. So there have been enough incidents here to at least ask the questions. It's not villainizing, not vilifying. You sure you want to have, you sure you don't want to run the traps at least before you, have that drag queen story hour at your library? Or have some dude in women's garb, usually provocative women's garb, prancing around the stage at the local grade school? Those I know are not indicators of mental illness. Of course not. And I'm talking about the people who would invite such people into those environments.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
A community grieves. Gianna Gelosi, Fox News. Hundreds gathered in the Twin Cities last night to mourn a church shooting that left 2 children dead and 17 others hurt before a gunman turned the gun on himself.
The shooter was born Robert Westman, but changed his name to Robin 6 years ago. The shooting began during a school-wide mass marking the beginning of the school year at around 8:30 local time yesterday morning. The shooter opened fire with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, all legally purchased weapons, according to police. Also, according to police, his mother previously worked at the school. FBI Director Kash Patel is calling this a hate crime, posting, "The FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able."
And that's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claims the shooter had a rifle magazine with the words, "For the children, where is your God?" and "Kill Donald Trump" scrawled on it. Elsewhere in Minneapolis, Democrats were at their summer meeting trying to get a strategy together after their 2024 election losses.
Democrats pitching progressive ideas like packing the Supreme Court. One delegate even argues that things were better during COVID. Democrats claim they've overperformed expectations in more than 40 special elections around the country since President Trump took office. Still, one veteran Democrat believes the party remains clueless on crime as President Trump commandeers control of the D.C. police. The DNC concluded its meeting in Minneapolis shortly after a deadly shooting at a nearby Catholic elementary school. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom said the country can't even get through the first week of school without a shooting. Newsom said, quote, "The GOP will do absolutely nothing on gun violence," adding it was, quote, "sick."
And that's Fox's Chad Pergram. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago Cardinal Blaise Szupec is calling on leaders in the country to make safety a national priority following the deadly mass shooting at a Minneapolis Catholic school. Szupec says guns are plentiful and common sense attempts to limit their availability have been largely rejected in the name of a freedom not found in our Constitution. He added that cutbacks on funding for health care and social service programs will only exacerbate a national mental health crisis. President Trump's plans for possibly targeting Chicago are being revealed. The Sun-Times reports an email sent this week by Navy Captain Stephen Yargaz to his leadership team says agents with the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection would be housed at the Naval Station Great Lakes near North Chicago from September 2nd through the 30th. Yargaz says that these operations would be similar to what happened in Los Angeles earlier this summer, adding that they could receive support from the National Guard. He said the operation would focus on downtown Chicago and a formal request for assistance still required approval from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Chicago Board of Education is expected to vote today on the Chicago Public Schools budget proposal. The district laid out a plan that aims to fill a $734 million budget deficit. The proposal didn't include a loan, and CPS leaders said they will only pay a $175 million pension payment if the school district received extra revenue from TIF surplus funds. The school is scheduled to swear in the new member before voting on the budget. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk explains the real reason for the tariffs.
He said to the entire world, even though the market went down, I'm willing to basically ruin your entire economy if you don't play ball. Donald Trump changed the incentives of not playing along. And it is creative, it's bold, it's ambitious. People thought he was just being a madman. Instead, it was the master at work.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, you're looking at 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound, 20 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 22 minutes. Outbound is 18 minutes. Traffic is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine. There will be a few thunder showers in the morning, followed by scattered showers in the afternoon. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Picking up on an aspect of the Annunciation school shooting in Minneapolis yesterday. For more conversation. It was something that one of our callers said last hour about if someone is suffering from gender dysphoria, should they be allowed to own weapons? As you've heard from the news reporting, the initial belief is that the guns purchased by the shooter were purchased legally. This was taken up in part on the 5 yesterday. There's a good reason I don't watch it. This is an exchange between Jesse Waters and Kennedy, where Jesse Waters prompts a response from Kennedy on the topic. And Kennedy, you know, she's a libertarian type. She's very pro Second Amendment and right of self-defense. But here's what she had to say on that topic.
Do you think there could have been something done if someone changes their name and thinks they're another gender? Would you not have them have access to weapons?
No, I think there are trans people who are stalked and they are terrorized and they worry about their own self-protection and they deserve to protect themselves. I worry about someone who has ever gone to the doctor and says, you know, I feel a little anxious. Can you prescribe me some Xanax for a plane? And then all of a sudden their name goes on some federal database. Yeah, and they can never get a weapon to defend themselves. There are plenty of laws keeping good people from buying guns and ammunition. You know, we talked to Joe, our local sporting goods guy, and, you know, he's furious that people who deserve to protect themselves and their families, for people who enjoy sporting life, that they are not capable to go in and buy a weapon without some sort of registry. Yes, this person was mentally ill. It's not the trans part. It's the part that he was absolutely, completely evil.
It's not the trans part. It's the evil part. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And text line, too. Yeah, it is the evil part. There's no question. Which is what we talk about routinely when the other shoe here drops, which is we haven't talked about, but I'm sure you've already seen some iterations of it, and that's got to ban guns. Got to ban guns. The only thing that you can do is you got to ban guns. So, of course, the difference between evil between the the instrumentality of evil, that lack of recognition. If you remove the instrumentality, you eliminate the evil. Well, that is flawed thinking, but that's what gets platformed by the DC press corps in these moments, and it was again yesterday, of course. I don't know if we have to belabor that point too much. But in terms of the idea that, this was gender dysphoria is, I haven't checked the DSM recently, but the gender dysphoria has historically been treated as a mental condition. So if you have a mental condition, normally we say, well, if somebody has mental challenges, this is probably not a good idea that they should be allowed gun possession. If they show that they have conquered whatever mental challenges they had, then you provide a path back because they're still American citizens and they still have Second Amendment rights so long as they are competent to exercise them responsibly. But it's not the trans thing; it's the evil thing. Sort of glosses over the issue here because everybody's afraid to say anything. Say anything critical of trans people. I mean, everybody's afraid to not be celebrating them, and as I said, bringing them to their senior centers for drag shows and so forth. For goodness sakes, that's the order of the day. But maybe some of these documented cases, maybe at some point you get to critical mass with the number of incidents like this that have occurred. I just went through them last hour, a half a dozen in the last several years. And those are just the high profile, serious body count incidents. Maybe you get some people starting to be a little bit less celebratory and a little bit more circumspect. I don't know. Robin in Tony, Alabama.
Yeah, hi, Dan. There was a case here in Red Bay, Alabama, about 2 weeks ago. It initially said, I just look on the websites, the local news said 3 women dead. And then one of the websites called the murderer, who then committed suicide, Derek, and used the pronouns they, them. And I looked on the other websites. Apparently this woman, 23 years old, changed her name to Derek. I don't know how far along she was in the whole gender dysphoria thing. She beat her mother, who was 59, and her sister, who was 25, to death with a baseball bat, and then killed herself with a gun. So there were guns in the home. I don't know if they, if they were hers privately or what. And I don't know if it's considered mass killing when there's 3 and one is a suicide. I don't know. But you were talking before about, the different crimes. Not all of them get national attention. So you wonder how much of this is swept under the rug. And I've seen nothing else besides that reporting.
Yes, it's a good issue you bring up. Thanks, Robin. Because we're treated to the pounding of some circumspect studies, some suspicious studies that we need to be circumspect about. Like a study out of UCLA, I'm sure you've heard it. You've heard the result. It's just repeated so often that trans people are 4 times likely as non-trans to be victimized by crime. So it's sort of that Kennedy thing. They're being targeted and so on and so forth. Well, I think the picture is more complicated than that. First of all, you have so many people that identify or that report whatever the person identifies as. So you'll see this in outlets yesterday and today. The shooter in Minneapolis at Annunciation School is a guy, but he is being reported without qualification in a lot of outlets as a female. It was a female 23-year-old who opened fire at, no, it wasn't. It's a guy, Robert, who changed his name 6 years ago to Robin and identified as a girl. But my point is to say, if those same outlets covered a person like that as a woman, then you're sort of over-reporting and under-reporting at the same time, because you can't make a proper distinction for the purposes of data collection on the gender, on the sex of the individual. I also think, there's a lot of, the idea of some of this crime that is that where trans people have like legitimately been victims of crime. But we've talked about this before. I think you have to scratch below the surface and identify the nature of these crimes. A lot of it is within community, if you will. A lot of it is uncomfortable for them to report in detail because it involves, minority as a minority perpetrator and what they would call minority victim in terms of a trans individual. So it's just a little bit more complicated than they want you to believe. They say the 4 times as likely trans people are being stalked, as Kennedy said. It makes it sound like, there are roving gangs of people wearing MAGA hats looking for trans people to beat up. And that's just not the case. But that's the impression they want you to have. Jeff in Cal City, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Wasn't it the Biden administration when he came into office, his FBI said something to the order of white supremacy was the greatest threat that the United States is facing? How's that really working out? What if Trump's administration said that transgenderism is the greatest threat, which it probably is?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jeff. I mean, that's where I wanted to get to. I did a little bit in the first hour, but just thinking about this, I'm going to repeat it again, and we'll talk later in the show to Mary Fiorito about it. But per Catholic Vote, 500 Catholic churches have been attacked since 2020. The incidence of violence spiked after the Dobbs decision. The FBI targeted Catholics who attend the Latin Mass as possible domestic terrorists under Biden, you'll recall. And it was initially, remember, sort of treated as it was a rogue agent in the Richmond office. And then we find out just recently that the characterization of Catholics who attend the Latin Mass as possible domestic terrorists was memorialized in a memo that was distributed to more than 1,000 FBI personnel across the country. And who knows how many more people from those 1,000 FBI personnel. I'm sure some of them immediately sent that over to the Human Rights Campaign and the LGBTQIA activist groups to further demagogue conservative Catholics or traditional Catholics. The Latin Mass is the litmus test for possible domestic terrorism. You remember Senator Dick Durbin, our very own Sack of Durbin. We'll miss him dearly when he retires. Durbin in the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearing, when he asked her if she considered herself a quote-unquote Orthodox Catholic. What's an Orthodox Catholic? You want to talk about Orthodox Catholicism. Wanted to make sure she wasn't identifying as a religious extremist, because to be Catholic and to take the catechism seriously is to be an extremist. Right? It is. Because to oppose marriage redefinition is to be a homophobic bigot. To believe that a man pretending to be a woman is to not believe that to believe that a man pretending to be a woman is not the same as an actual woman is to be a transphobic bigot. To believe in the sanctity of human life is to be a misogynist. And again, yet in the wake of another mass shooting by a trans individual at a Catholic school, who, as was mentioned last hour in detail, also expressed viciously violent views against Jews and others. But in the wake of this, we're told that by identitarian politicians like Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey that now is the time we must rally around the trans community. Protect them. From what? Rally around them to what end exactly? And there is no mention other than, again, sort of the antiseptic paeans to love over hate. There is no mention of the villainization of conservative Catholics. There is no denunciation of the ongoing violence in the direction of Catholic institutions. There's no problem there. And I mean, you know, we are dealing with at least a segment of the trans community that we're supposed to rally around that is completely gone. Not just because of their identitarianism, but because they have completely given over to violence. There's actually a wild piece in Tablet that details this trans vegan cult. I'm not kidding. Inside the trans vegan death cult, the Zizians. Now, again, I'm making a generalization from this anecdote, but this anecdote is a serious thing. These Zizians are connected to at least 6 murders. And this is all detailed in this very good investigative piece of Tablet. Just to give you a little bit of an anecdote, let me find the one I'm looking for. These Zizians, they've gained notoriety over 2 years, starting back in November of 2022, I should say, when they are allegedly killed the landlord of a trailer park they were living in. The way they were described by neighbors had long referred to the group as the cult on account of their bizarre behavior. They were all trans, strolled around the site naked, carried weapons, and staunchly refused to eat anything non-vegan. Sounds like a fun group. And it goes on from there. But the commentary on this is the point here. The comment from the investigative reporter that details these Zizians. In some ways, this vegan trans death cult is only a very extreme expression of sentiments and attitudes that have been flourishing in elite progressive circles for far too long. Indeed, the fact that the media has been determinedly using the Zizians' preferred pronouns in the reporting of their alleged crimes shows just how seriously their wacky beliefs are taken. Transgenderism is clearly a part of the ideological waters the Zizians have been swimming in. Indeed, they turned battling transphobia into a key justification for their actions. 2 members standing trial for the attempted murder of an individual in 2022 have even been accusing the court of transphobia while on trial. We also had that trans group that opened fire on ICE agents and are being prosecuted by Pam Bondi. So again, for those that find it difficult to assimilate complicated perspectives, nuanced ideas, this is not to say all are, because I recognize all are not. So it's more complicated than that. But there is an element that is radicalized, that is prone to violence as the means to political ends, or maybe in some cases as the means, as the ends, the violence is the ends in and of themselves. And they are being essentially defended. They are being treated with rationalizations by politicians, even in the wake of the most horrific acts like slaughtering children. Immediately go to their identitarian safe space. Let's rally around them. The villainization they're so concerned about with respect to the trans community is of no concern to them in the direction of Catholics. And to a large extent, Jews and others. But let me just focus on Catholics since we're talking about the shooting at a Catholic school. That's of no concern. So villainization only works in one way in terms of being a concern or being an accelerant to violence, according to these politicians who are preening before the cameras in the wake of what happened yesterday.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Hey, if you're sending your child off to college this fall, make sure you give them more than a backpack and a laptop. You need to give them peace of mind. This world is a very dangerous place. Go to Byrna, B-Y-R-N-A. It is the less lethal launcher, and it is the ultimate off-campus protection without the legal, financial, or emotional burden of using a firearm. I carry one every single day. I recommend anyone concerned about personal safety or the safety of their family, you need one as well. By the way, it's legal in all 50 states. They can ship it straight to your door. And don't forget, over 500 government agencies now are using this incredible technology because you can incapacitate any perpetrator for 30 to 40 minutes. Legal all 50 states, no background check required, and it fires those kinetic rounds. Just go to BYRNA.com, all hand assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Visit Byrna, BYRNA.com today and find the right launcher for your family. That's BYRNA.com.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
AM 560, The Answer.
Just to reinforce my point, I did want to mention the Wall Street Journal editorial on this shooting madness in Minneapolis contains this line. Reports say Westman, who died by her own hand on Wednesday, wasn't known to police as a threat. Her own hand. See what I'm talking about? That's a dude. He was a dude the first 17 years of his life. He magically turned into a woman because he changed his name from Robert to Robin. Wall Street Journal editorial board should be ashamed of themselves, but it just shows you how much this has seeped into culture. Coming up at 6:36, we'll turn our attention back to Chicago. State Representative and congressional candidate now, LaShawn Ford, joins us to talk about whether or not an idea that he once promoted, bringing the National Guard in to help increase the peace on the streets of Chicago, is something he supports when Trump calls for it. That's 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Trump administration is planning to take over Union Station in Washington, D.C.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made the announcement on Wednesday and said the station has fallen into disrepair. Duffy said they will help make the city safe and beautiful at a fraction of the cost by reclaiming management of the station. It's the latest move by the White House as part of President Trump's crime crackdown in the Capitol. I'm Mark Mayfield.
YouTube TV and Fox have reached a short-term extension to prevent a disruption to YouTube TV subscribers. YouTube TV says the pair are working towards what it calls a fair deal and will offer subscribers a $10 credit if content becomes unavailable for an extended period of time. The deadline for an extension was Wednesday afternoon, with many subscribers upset about potentially not having access to Fox channels as college football and the NFL are set to fully kick off. And Labor Day weekend gas prices could be the lowest since 2020. According to Gas Buddy, the projected cost of fuel will be around $3.15 a gallon, marking the cheapest summer for gas prices since the pandemic. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher explains Trump's biggest strength.
Now, the National Guard is being deployed to places like Washington, D.C., ultimately Chicago, maybe New York, L.A., to make cities safer. If you're crazy, you're opposed to that. Trump's superpower is getting his political enemies to be crazy, to act crazy. They're absolutely crazed.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, this basement is unreal. You've got a bar, theater seats. What is this place?
This is my escape. Forever Remodeling custom designed the whole thing. Not 1 square foot is wasted.
Man, mine still has a treadmill and a folding table.
Their designers asked a ton of questions. I wanted the ultimate game day setup. They delivered. Bar, big screen, sound that shakes the walls.
Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Shoot. Hun, I can't fix this leak.
That's okay, babe. I'll get a plumber.
Oh, boy. What's that going to cost?
I'll let you know in 60 seconds.
Huh?
For a rapid estimate on a plumbing repair, just go to CenterGuardPlumbing.com. Use the easy price calculator and get a quote for many jobs in just 60 seconds.
Okay, it's not going to be much, babe.
Okay. That was fast.
Serving the entire Chicagoland area since 2005, CenterGuard Plumbing is your trusted source for quick, lasting repairs, sewer services, water line solutions, water heater service, to whole house water treatment. And with their online easy price calculator, you can get a free quote in just 60 seconds. Trust CenterGuard to do the job right. Quality work at the lowest prices around. They're family owned with top-notch plumbers that are licensed, bonded, and insured. Whether installing a new faucet or plumbing a new home, you can count on CenterGuard. Get your free quote now at CenterGuardPlumbing.com. They're ready to help.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising costs of living, and you are not alone. Potentially maximize your savings and get the guidance you need through times of uncertainty with a team at FestGen Wealth Partners. Get started at GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes, outbound about 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes, outbound about 10 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 18 minutes. Outbound, about 21 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 25 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, 12 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Need better sleep on Labor Day weekend? Upgrade to premium sleep at Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Let their sleep experts match you with the perfect bed and get the rest you deserve. They make sleep easy. Shop Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine, along with a few thunder showers in the morning and a chance of showers later on. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Local Fox affiliate in Minneapolis reporting on the Annunciation Catholic school shooting yesterday. Interestingly, talking about the violence in Minneapolis and the violence that sort of bookended the school shooting that could have stretched police resources.
Its tactical vest, which it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess that you could say, that Minneapolis police are under.
Yeah. Imagine still struggling under the defund the police consequences from the George Floyd shooting in Minneapolis. Don't forget that. Where residents of Minneapolis, majority black neighborhood in Minneapolis, had to sue the city for policing. You remember that case? Black residents of a majority black section of Minneapolis sued the city saying, we are not getting the police resources that other neighborhoods are getting, and we want them. We're taxpayers, and we want our fair share. Fair point. And they won. Quite a city that Jacob Fry has up there. And the entire power structure. Well, that certainly repeats itself in major urban centers in big blue states, doesn't it? Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., also offered some interesting observations about the impact of the 3-week surge in federal resources, federal public safety resources, to D.C. Take a listen.
And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly. But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
Yes, when crime goes down, people are safer. That's a wonderful observation, but I mean, that's an interesting statement from somebody who had to, fall in line largely with her party and say this is a terrible thing that Trump is doing, even though in D.C. in particular, he has the statutory authority to do it. We can handle it ourselves. Doesn't sound like it. And it sounds like the surge in resources was greatly beneficial to the residents of D.C. Maybe Minneapolis needs a surge in resources. Maybe Chicago does. Maybe Baltimore does. John Kasich. Remember John Kasich? He was the governor of Ohio, don't you know? Ran for president against Trump. Kasich was brought on MSNBC to do what you're supposed to do if you're a quote-unquote Republican brought on to MSNBC, which is to attack Trump. But he broke character on this topic of the state of America's big cities. Very difficult time for MSNBC when even their dutiful Trump attackers from the center right break ranks.
Have you been in Chicago? Have you been in Baltimore? But my daughter went to school in Chicago. I remember the day she graduated, there were shootings and killings right outside of her building. And in Baltimore, I have friends that go down to Johns Hopkins, get treated for medical conditions. I mean, they are nervous about ever going there. There are parts of Baltimore that he tells me he wouldn't go into. And this is not some right-wing person. This is somebody who wants to be able to go into some of our great cities and be able to be safe. Now, I do think it's important that if you're going to do this, you've got to define the mission. You've got to talk about your authority. And I think one of the earlier guests was saying that, well, maybe there's narrow ways to do it. I agree with that. But that just then says that there are ways to do it. And if I had a crisis in Cleveland, we thought we were going to have riots or in Columbus or whatever, I would never have put, the fact that, well, I'm governor, so I would want to work with other people who wanted to help me. And look, what's been happening in Chicago has been terrible. The crime rate is high. The gang problem is real. I tried to get Arnie Duncan, the former education secretary under Obama, to run for mayor. He's out there trying to work to get, to deal with the gang problem.
Not really.
He didn't want to do it. But I think Chicago is a jewel of America. And we just cannot let lawlessness and fear dominate these cities. So, yeah, I think we need to know what the mission is. I think we need to know what the authority is. I think we need to know what the length is. But the idea that these cities are somehow fine, I think you're
I don't think anybody. Listen.
I heard the word manufacturing.
Yeah. You got set off, did Kasich, by the characterization of of Trump's actions as a manufactured crisis. Not a real one? For more on the topic, pleased to be joined by LaShawn Ford, State Representative Ford. He's an Illinois state legislator and a candidate for Congress to replace the retiring Danny Davis. LaShawn, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's good to be with you all. Dan, what's happening?
Well, lots of stuff, as you well know. So does LaShawn Ford still believe what LaShawn Ford believed at one time a few years back, that bringing in the National Guard, those resources to improve public safety on the south and west sides of Chicago in particular is a good idea, even though it's a President Trump and not a President Obama?
Well, I think that when I called, it was to call for the mayor and the governor to work with the National Guard to bring a presence into the city of Chicago, much like we did for the DNC, much like we did post George Floyd. It was a call for the city, the state, and the county to work together with the federal government and with our National Guard. In this case, it's different.
Well,
it's the federal government saying, I'm just coming without your assistance.
Well, it's different, but I mean, So whose fault is that?
Well, I think, first of all, I think that we must admit that we do have a problem with crime in America and in Chicago. And I want to do whatever it takes to make sure that Chicago and Illinois feel safe and that we lock up the bad people, the 2% of people that's causing havoc in our city. I'm all for that. And I'm all for making sure that we catch the right people and have a presence. So I think that if the president really wanted to work with the city and the state, he would do it collaboratively. I've been in office now 18 years, and the only way you really accomplish things is to work together collaboratively to get things done.
Yeah, I know. Springfield, there's a lot of collaboration in Springfield, and it's to work together to get terrible things done. Well, to get terrible things done. You know, working together to do something. You can work together to rob a bank, or you can work together to do something constructive, but working together isn't an end in of itself. It depends what you're working together to do. You know what I mean? And so, sometimes going it alone is what you have to do the right thing, too. And I guess my point would be, if they don't want to work with him, you heard John Kasich just say basically, if I was governor of Ohio and I needed federal resources, I wouldn't care who the president is. Somebody wants to give me the resources I want, I'd work with them. Well, that's not the attitude that Pritzker and Johnson are taking for all kinds of obvious reasons. And my point to you is to say, if the resources is the point, if that's what you want, then if Trump can provide them even over the obstructionism of Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, then why wouldn't you want them?
I mean, how do you bring in, if someone told you that we know you have a problem in your home and we're going to send you to help, then we're not going to work with you to help you solve your problems in your home. We're just going to tell you what we think you need and how you should accomplish the goals to cure the problem. You wouldn't accept it. I think that if the governor and what we should do, the governor and the mayor should actually call the president on his willingness to help Chicago and say, okay, so you want to help us. Let's see how we could coordinate this federal help with resources.
Well,
I don't think that we should automatically just but we should engage, because we don't need the federal government to come in. Remember, we believe in state rights. And so we should push the president and the federal government to assist us in this problem. Well, this is not a dictatorship. This is we're supposed to work collaboratively.
Well, there's a pretty compelling legal argument about the president's power with respect to the National Guard to deploy the National Guard for federal law enforcement reasons, not to do domestic policing. And so, all this dictatorship stuff is just really silly. But
if he brings in the National Guard, that's against state rights. He doesn't have a right to do that in Illinois. He does have a right to do it in Washington. But if there's the facts, we know that he doesn't have the right.
No, he does. The legal argument is, and this is not just, this is held by, a lot of constitutional scholars. You can disagree with it. You could argue about the interpretation, but it is not at all clear what you just said. In point of fact, the National Guard can be deployed to enforce federal laws in an emergency situation. And then therein lies the rub. So if, it depends on how you want to define things, but he could federalize the National Guard and deploy them. Pritzker reportedly asked Boyd, the head of the National Guard here, to not follow Trump's orders if he tries to federalize them. And Boyd told Pritzker, I don't work for you. I work for the President of the United States if he federalizes the National Guard. So I don't agree with your interpretation. But I still don't quite get this. So you want them to engage. So you have to acknowledge that Pritzker and Brandon Johnson haven't engaged. They've basically told the president to go pound sand and or send us more money for violence interrupters, and we'll take that. That's not exactly constructive engagement, is it?
Well, I think that, one, when you look at the intent of the federal administration, Trump's administration, where he says that I'm for curing violence in Chicago and stopping violence, but then at the same time, he cuts violence interruption funding. And the approach of holistic solving of the problem, he's against it. So, when you say that you want to help, you have to help not just in your way, but there has to be a way that we work together. There is no doubt. I'm bipartisan, want to work with Republicans, want to work with independents, and no one in their right mind would allow for anyone to just come into their state, into their home, and say, I'm going to do what I want to do, irregardless to what you want. Now, what I think people should say, we need to push the governor and push the mayor to do more to make people feel safer in this city. I'm for that.
Okay. All right. But first of all, these are arguably his powers and the federal government's resources, and the federal government can do what it wants with its resources within the bounds of the law, just like states and localities can. That's number one. The other, the metaphor of this being our home, well, I mean, it's not our home, it's our community, and there are a lot of different voices in that community, and some of those voices, Willie Wilson being a prominent one, the Chicago Flips Red ladies being prominent ones, and other just, ordinary residents of Chicago, they want it. They want the resources. So they are saying, yes, come to our community and make our collective streets safer. This isn't my home. It's because it's on private property. It's public property.
It's taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, and it's taxpayer dollars. So some people are saying, some people are cheerleading Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, mostly fellow Democrat politicians, and other people that actually have to live in crime-ridden neighborhoods, are at least some of them are saying, yes, bring whatever resources we can get to increase the peace. And why would you be afraid of the National Guard? What is he going to do? He's not going to collaborate. What's the National Guard going to do? You think the police and the National Guard won't work well together? Of course they will. So what's the danger?
Not if you don't come together with a plan. If you just simply deploy the National Guard without the cooperation of the local police, it causes a disruption.
What do you think? Wait a second. You think the police and the National Guard are going to fight? If Boyd was activated and you had National Guard here in Chicago, first thing he's going to do is go to Snelling and say, okay, so here's what we're going to do, and we'll stay out of your way. And of course, these are adults and they're law enforcement professionals. Well, they're not going to. It's not going to be a street fight.
We assume that they will work in concert. Have we asked the Chicago police if they've been addressed with the president's plan? The answer would be no. I think that the argument should not be from the president, I'm sending them in. It should be, I want to meet with the mayor and I want to meet with the governor so that we can provide you with assistance in your state and city. If you have that approach, I think we have something, because I think that it can help. But that's not the approach. No, the approach is, I'm sending them. I mean, it's coming from a stance of a dictator, not a government stance of democracy.
I mean, again, it's not a dictator. I mean, that's just a silly thing. And now he's saying, maybe if you don't want me to send him, I won't send him. Doesn't sound so dictatorial.
Because he doesn't have a right to do it. Well, we know he has a right to do it in Washington. But state right says that you don't have a right to do it.
Well, again, that is very much an argument, and depending on how the National Guard behave, they can work around the posse comitatus law.
That's right. Depends on how.
Yes.
We have seen in Washington
so it's not a dictatorship.
And I have to give it to you, Dan, on this one. You know, as a black man in America, we have to have some pause when we deal with the law enforcement. And in Washington, there was a lawyer that was detained by the police, by the National Guard. And there's going to be a lawsuit based on their interaction with that lawyer. He wasn't doing anything according to reports. And we are doing so much better in the city of Chicago as relates to the relationships between Black and brown people with law enforcement. We have to give our Chicago police a lot of credit. They have changed their awareness to communities that they serve, and that's why we're seeing a different type of relationship between the Black and brown community and the police.
Okay, great.
They are doing a good job, and what we need to do is figure out how we can support them.
Well, great. I agree. Brandon Johnson doesn't want 5,000 more cops. I mean, he was asked on Morning Joe, and he kicked he doesn't want it. Doesn't want more police resources, even domestic police resources. If you could have 5,000 more cops tomorrow, would you take it? That policing isn't the solution. I mean, if they don't want to work, just like they can't work with ICE, police, but if they can't get their political leaders to want federal resources or to want to work with the federal government, then it's unfortunate. And but ICE is going to come anyway and do their job, and they're working around and with police, not stepping on their toes, as far as I can tell. So why wouldn't the National Guard be able to do the same thing, despite the obstructionism of Pritzker and Johnson?
Right. So the question is, can they? And will they work with the locals? And we don't know that. And there's no reason to assume. We should have a plan. How do we not have a plan if this is something that we believe will work? You have to have a plan in order to implement some strategies. There is no cooperation between the local, federal, and state government. Why can't we be adults about it and get some cooperation and a plan to deal with the problem?
Right. We can't. We can't be adults about it because we don't have an adult in the governor's mansion or the fifth floor. That's why we can't be adults about it. All right, LaShawn Ford. I get the last word this time. Sorry.
You do.
State Representative LaShawn Ford, who is also a candidate for Congress running to replace Danny Davis. Thanks, LaShawn. Appreciate you joining us.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, this basement is unreal. You've got a bar, theater seats. What is this place?
This is my escape. Forever Remodeling custom designed the whole thing. Not 1 square foot is wasted.
Man, mine still has a treadmill and a folding table.
Their designers asked a ton of questions. I wanted the ultimate game day setup. They delivered. Bar, big screen, sound that shakes the walls.
Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560. The Answer.
By the way, LaShawn joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. And even if, you share some of my frustrations with LaShawn's views on the topic, at least he has the guts to come on here as a Democrat and go toe-to-toe. And so for that, I appreciate LaShawn Ford and have respect for him. Coming up at 7:07, Jenny Beth Martin, the co-founder of Tea Party Patriots, joins us to talk about their national Tea Party tour when it comes to voter integrity. 7 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
Love and candles. I'm Therese Crowley, Fox News. Minnesota opens its arms to the families of the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church with prayers and vigils for the 2 children killed, 14 wounded, and 3 parishioners, 2 in their 80s. Investigators examining the writings and YouTube videos left behind by the 23-year-old shooter who killed himself. Robin Westman, armed with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, fired dozens of rounds through a side window of the church.
The shooter was named Robert at birth, but that later changed when he was 17 years old. Court records show Robert Westman was granted a name change to Robin in 2020, with the court writing, quote, minor child identifies as a female. Authorities say they're aware of a manifesto that the shooter had time to be released on YouTube, which has since been taken down. And DHS posted on X saying in part, quote, this deeply sick murderer scrawled the words for the children and where is your God and kill Donald Trump on a Rifle magazine. This level of violence is unthinkable. Also, police say the shooter used 3 legally purchased guns for this attack.
The FBI investigating as an act of domestic terror and hate crime against Catholics, with over 400 hostile acts against Catholic churches this year. President Trump continues to to iChicago for federal crime enforcement.
Chicago's mayor defends his resistance to accepting National Guard reinforcements, pointing to a 31% drop in murders.
The positive trends that we are experiencing right now is because we're doing the things that work.
Jeanette Ringgold has lost two sons, LaDeveret and Navaje, to gun violence.
Talk to the people who are the numbers to find out what's really going on.
The Great Lakes Naval Station just north of Chicago confirms that the Department of Homeland Security has reached out for support, potentially to house federal personnel.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Chicago. America is listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Illinois is reaching an agreement to receive federal education funding. State Attorney General Kwame Raoul says the agreement requires the Trump administration to release the full balance of around $219 million in education funds owed to Illinois no later than October 3rd. The money supports critical programs including after-school enrichment, workforce development, and instruction for students learning English. The deal comes after Raoul joined a multi-state lawsuit in July challenging the Trump administration's freeze on nearly $7 billion in educational grants before the start of the school year. A Chicago man is guilty of shooting a state trooper in Springfield in 2023. Cristobal Santana was convicted on all 5 counts, including attempted murder. Authorities say Santana pulled out a gun and fired shots at Trooper Dakota Chapman Green during a traffic stop in October of 2023. Chapman Green made a full recovery and returned to duty. Santana is also accused of shooting and killing his ex-girlfriend in Chicago. He faces 45 years to life in prison at his sentencing in December. A new national ranking of the nation's colleges by Forbes magazine ranks several Illinois schools among the best in the country, and several are located in Chicago. The magazine's annual survey places the University of Chicago, Northwestern, and the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in the top 50. The magazine highlights the school's ability to produce successful graduates with strong outcomes and diverse opportunities. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560 The Answer.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 22 minutes, outbound 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 21 minutes, outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 40 minutes, outbound 23 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 34 minutes, outbound 26 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 22 minutes, outbound is about 12 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine, along with a few thunder showers in the morning and a chance of showers later on. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Talked about this a bit earlier in the week with former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. An aspect of the election transparency work that he does, which is cleaning up the voter rolls, because there are a number of states, including, of course, Illinois, where the Department of Justice has interceded because the state isn't maintaining its responsibility to ensure that the voter rolls accurately reflect the electorate, and thus only those eligible to vote in Illinois, for example, are voting. Of course, that's always been a problem, but the difference is now with efforts like Cuccinelli's Transparency Project, as well as Trump's focus on this, talking recently about at least curtailing, if not eliminating altogether. Eliminating altogether is going to be a big lift, but perhaps curtailing some of the vote-by-mail programs that are populated around the country. We've got a good effort afoot to try to improve the integrity of our elections, both nationally and at the statewide level. Well, one is obviously connected to the other. And the Tea Party Patriots are in on this act as well. They are launching a Only Citizens Vote Month bus tour. And this is to support the SAVE Act, Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act. They have this radical notion: only American citizens should vote in American elections. Wow. That is going to rankle the left, no question. And they're coming to a town near you. That town is called Orland Park. They'll be here on September 2nd at Crescent Park, 4 p.m. September 2nd, 4 p.m. in Orland Park at Crescent Park in Orland Park, where they'll have a Tea Party Patriots rally. For more on those rallies and the underlying impetus for them, please be joined by Jenny Beth Martin, co-founder of Tea Party Patriots and host of the Jenny Beth Show podcast. Jenny Beth Martin, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Dan.
You would think that the idea that only American citizens should vote in American elections is self-explanatory, but in these times it isn't. So why don't you describe the idea behind this bus tour that you're doing and the importance of the SAVE Act?
Yeah, so the SAVE Act will require proof of citizenship to register to vote. It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. But the way that when you register to vote through the motor voter law, you only check a box that affirms you are a citizen. There is no requirement for proof of citizenship. And we're trying to fix that. It's pretty simple. 87% of Americans agree only American citizens should vote in American elections for president, Senate, and Congress. The bill has passed the House of Representatives twice, once last year, once last year, which was the last Congress, and once this year in this Congress, but it still has not been taken up in the Senate. So our goal is to bring awareness to the issue and awareness to the bill, and then work to get the bill passed in September, attaching it to an appropriations or continuing resolution bill that would fund the government. And we think that would get it past the filibuster in the Senate.
Really? You'd have Democrats sign on to this idea?
Well, if it is attached to what's considered must-pass legislation, there will have to be some Democrats who vote for appropriations and or a continuing resolution, whatever the final government funding mechanism bill is. Because if they don't, there will be a shutdown on October 1st. And one thing that I've learned, now I'm oftentimes not opposed to a government shutdown personally, but what I've learned is that the elected officials on Capitol Hill do everything they can to avoid a government shutdown. And since I know that that is how they act, then I figured, what can we do that will help us get what we want, since they're going to vote for government funding bills to avoid a shutdown. And that's why we're working on it, and that explains the timing of the bus tour as well.
Yeah, and as you said, 87% of Americans support voter ID. So I mean, this is not really in controversy except within the new Marxist Party. And then they'll vilify this like they do everything as Jim Crow 2.0. But there may be some Democrats and some red states that are getting redder that, you're right, it could be nervous about being on the wrong side of this 80-20 or 90-10 issue. As we saw just recently, over the last 4 years, New York Times analysis, 4.5 million voter registrations to the positive for Republicans on net, 2.4 for Republicans and 2.1 away from Democrats. And you even had Harry Enton, CNN's pollster jester, talking about the spike in Republican registrations in some swing states like Pennsylvania, where maybe John Fetterman wants to think twice before opposing something like this.
Yes, I think that that is correct. And that is what I'm hoping for, that there will be Democrat senators like in the state of Georgia who maybe they will vote for it. I don't know, but John Ossoff, he's going to be up for re-election, and that may be something he wants to do. I think John Fetterman is, I think he's a Democrat. I don't think he's a new Marxist. And so what I mean by that is I think he's more like an old school Democrat that we grew up with and is intellectually honest. So he may vote for it. And and then we need a few more. But there will have to be something that happens when the spending bills come up for a vote in September to ensure the government is funded beginning on October 1st. And so we're just saying attach it to whatever that is.
And do you think, you think that this is a priority for the Trump administration such that they will put political capital at stake to try to pass this?
I don't know. I don't have insight into that answer. The White House is aware of what we're doing. We let them know. What I do know is this. The president has an executive order where he wants only citizens voting.
Right.
The Election Accountability Commission is trying to change the form so that we would require proof of citizenship, but that change can be undone if the law is not changed in the future by a future administration. And the president, just a week and a half ago, posted on Truth Social about other election integrity measures that he wants to see happen. So I know he is very concerned about election integrity, and this is one small piece of a big election integrity is very big, so it's one small piece of the whole of election integrity that is already written. It's a very short bill. It's very defined. It doesn't have a budgetary impact, and it unites Americans, regardless of whether they're Democrats or Republicans. Americans agree we should only have Americans voting in our elections. So I think that it's something we have a real chance of accomplishing this goal.
I wonder if you could just give some perspective, co-founder of the Tea Party Patriots, Jenny Beth Martin, we're speaking with. The Tea Party, this sort of spontaneous order that occurred in response to Obamacare, this revolt of American citizens that took place, and Tea Parties formed around the country, and different sort of umbrella Tea Party organizations as well, like yours. And now some 15 years later, the effort persists. I'm sure there's been some metamorphoses along the way, but what's your perspective on the Tea Party movement, looking back at the last 15 years, sort of the journey and where it is today?
Well, I think that a lot of the goals that we were working on from the very beginning, we're seeing accomplished right now in this Trump administration. With the rescissions package that was introduced and approved by Congress, the defunding of NPR is something that we had worked on for many years. And I think we're going to continue to see more rescissions, more cuts in government spending, and work to grow the economy. And we started because we were opposed to the stimulus bill that President Obama had on top, which was on the heels of the TARP bill that George W. Bush had. Yeah. And then after that stimulus bill, we had the Obamacare, as you were talking about, and it's just more government spending, more government growth, big government, big spending. And now with President Trump, we are seeing a return to a more constitutionally limited government. I think that one thing I've learned, and that I appreciate even though it frustrates me, is that change in America takes a long time to happen. And our Constitution is designed to make that change be a slow process. And we learned during COVID, when change happens rapidly, it creates chaos and tyranny. And so even though it takes a long time to accomplish our goals, I appreciate the fact that we have a constitutional system that protects our freedom and guards against chaos and tyranny.
Yeah, well said. I almost forgot about the stimulus, the Obama stimulus package, where where shovel-ready projects became a punchline. Gosh, the good old days, and the good old days when stimulus packages were less than $1 trillion, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jenny Beth Martin, she is the co-founder of Tea Party Patriots and host of the Jenny Beth Show podcast. Again, the Only Citizens Vote, a month-long bus tour, and this is kicking off. Well, this has kicked off, I should say, and it is coming to Illinois September 2nd. So that would be Monday, right? Labor Day?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. And it's at Crescent Park in Orland Park, September 2nd, Tuesday, September 2nd, Crescent Park in Orland Park. TeaPartyPatriots.org for more information on the Only Citizens Vote bus tour. Jenny Beth Martin, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Orland Park.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Jenny Beth Martin joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family owned, integrity since 1981.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. It's not an easy time to be a college student. According to a study of roughly 1,500 undergrads at Northwestern University and the University of Michigan, over the last 2 years, fully 88% pretended to hold more left-wing views than they actually had in order to succeed socially or academically. In other words, the atmosphere on campus is so intolerant and so punitive that there is a massive culture of self-censorship both inside and outside the classroom. College leaders, professors, and administrators who've perpetuated the system are a disgrace. They've inhibited the free inquiry, stunted the moral formation, and suppressed the intellectual integrity of the young people in their charge. American universities should be run in conformity with American values. Our country cherishes freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and freedom of conscience. Our universities should do likewise.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terrace 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terrace 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Somebody mentioned earlier in the show, when we were talking about the awful shooting at that Catholic school church, Annunciation in Minneapolis, that the DNC just had its summer meetings up there. It's true. And what an affair it was. This is how it started. Of course, this is how it started.
This is Lindy Somek, who is from the Saginaw Ojibwe Nation, and she's going to deliver our land acknowledgement today. Lindy.
Bonjour, Lindy Somek, Nindichinikas, Amekdodam, Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis. The Dakota cared for the lands, lakes, and the Wapatonka, the Great River, the Mississippi River, for thousands of years before colonization. This land was not claimed or traded. It's a part of a history of broken treaties and promises. And in many ways, we still live in a system built to suppress Indigenous peoples' cultural and spiritual history. As Democrats...
Okay, then leave. And it went from there to having policy experts on. Policy experts like Insha Rockman, who is from the Vera Institute, which is one of these, phony think tanks that just is, that's a repository of political hacks to advocate for things like, decarceration, non-prosecution, defunding the police. And she has a hot take on all this business about crime, foreign and domestic.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
Yeah, well, if I could borrow a line from John Kasich, have you been to Chicago? Have you been to Baltimore? Carjackings and migrant crime don't matter to a lot of Americans. Why don't you tell that to the angel moms and dads out there? The tone deafness is astounding and provides wonderful opportunity. Coming up at 7:37, we do need to return to some more discussion about the Minneapolis Catholic school church shooting. But I also want to fold in OPRF. Oak Park River Forest High School has removed all the exterior doors from their bathrooms at school. Why? Find out at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is calling for federal racketeering charges against billionaire Democrat donor George Soros.
The president wrote on social media Wednesday that Soros and his radical left son should be charged with RICO because of what he called their support of violent protests. Trump claimed that Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country and added, "Be careful, we're watching you." The Soros nonprofit foundation called Trump's claim outrageous and said their mission is to advance human rights, justice, and democratic principles. The Justice Department has not commented on Trump's threats. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Trump administration is moving to take over Union Station in Washington, D.C. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made the announcement on Wednesday saying the station has fallen into disrepair.
We're going to take it back and we're going to drive out the homelessness. We're going to drive out the crime.
He says that Washington, D.C. should be an example.
It should be beautiful. Yeah. And the president wants a beautiful capital. I want a beautiful capital. And so this plan is going to make Union Station represent the president's vision of what America can and should look like.
Duffy says they will help make the city safe, beautiful at a fraction of the cost by reclaiming management of the station. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
Attention investors with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account. The dollar has lost over 25% of its value in the past 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. Are you prepared for what's about to happen next? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold IRA company in America, and we are helping Americans prepare for the great de-dollarization by diversifying their portfolios with physical precious metals. We've partnered with former chief economist of the IMF, Kenneth Rogoff, to give away his latest book called Our Dollar, Your Problem, a must-read for investors. Call 800-741-GOLD, and we'll rush a free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem to your doorstep and include our special gold IRA investing kit, valued at $49. The dollar is losing value fast. Call 800-741-GOLD now to get your free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free gold IRA investing kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
Shoot. Hun, I can't fix this leak.
That's okay, babe. I'll get a plumber.
Oh, boy. What's that going to cost?
I'll let you know in 60 seconds.
Huh?
For a rapid estimate on a plumbing repair, just go to CenterGuardPlumbing.com. Use the easy price calculator and get a quote for many jobs in just 60 seconds.
Okay. It's not going to be much, babe.
Okay. That was fast.
Serving the entire Chicagoland area since 2005, CenterGuard Plumbing is your trusted source for quick, lasting repairs, sewer services, water line solutions, water heater service, to whole house water treatment. And with their online easy price calculator, you can get a free quote in just 60 seconds. Trust CenterGuard to do the job right. Quality work at the lowest prices around. They're family owned with top-notch plumbers that are licensed, bonded, and insured. Whether installing a new faucet or plumbing a new home, you can count on CenterGuard. Get your free quote now at CenterGuardPlumbing.com. They're ready to help.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at NewNordicUSA.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes. Outbound, 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 34 minutes. Outbound, 25 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 36 minutes. Outbound, 24 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 46 minutes. Outbound, about 24 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Need better sleep on Labor Day weekend? Upgrade to premium sleep at Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Let their sleep experts match you with the perfect bed and get the rest you deserve. They make sleep easy. Shop Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine. There will be a few thunder showers in the morning, followed by scattered showers in the afternoon. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Oak Park River Forest, the featured school in that America to Me documentary a few years back by one of the producers of Hoop Dreams. Whew, that should have been eye-opening. Oak Park River Forest, eye-opening in just what a catastrophe that school is. Yeah, the leftist ideological infusion into government schools is destroying them. And it can't be good for the kids if it's destroying the schools. You see this in proficiency results in terms of basics like reading and math. You see this in behavior, too. We already have, OPRF, it's because of the power structure there, it's completely embraced all the identitarian left's platform planks. And, of course, it's following state law. You got to have your tampons in the boys' room. You got to have your boys in the girls' locker rooms. And now you got to remove the bathroom doors. Oak Park River Forest is removing all of the doors, the external doors to their bathrooms, not the doors like the stalls, but to enter the bathrooms, to enter their gender-neutral bathrooms for their non-binary students. ABC7 reporting.
High School has removed the exterior doors from most of its bathrooms. The school says this was done to help stop students from vaping, skipping class, and fighting. None of the stall doors were removed. That spokesperson also says, quote, the decision to remove the exterior doors of most bathrooms at the school was based on an evidence-based practice in architecture called crime prevention through environmental design.
Crime prevention through environmental design. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Hardening the target. No vaping in the boys' room, if you excuse my paraphrasing of Motley Crue. The decision to remove the external doors of most bathrooms, an evidence-based practice in architecture called crime prevention through environmental design. The open floor plan for bathrooms for high school students. I mean, I guess with the gender bending that's going on, what's the difference, huh? What do you think? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. It's funny, I was at a restaurant in Oak Park the other day. And I won't name the restaurant because I actually like it. It's actually pretty good. But I mean, it's just so ridiculous in these places. And I mean the towns, not this restaurant per se, but including this restaurant. They have 2 bathrooms in the restaurant. It's a breakfast joint. The 2 bathrooms are women and gender neutral. That's what it actually says on the bathroom door, gender neutral. There's no men. There's no men's bathroom because, I mean, I guess it actually stands to reason. There's no men in Oak Park, not real men. There's a lot of male impersonators. Women and gender neutral. At least they recognize there is such a thing as women, although that's probably where a lot of the men are going to the bathroom as well. Women and gender neutral. The removal of doors at the high school to prevent vaping, skipping class, and fighting. To me, if you have to remove the bathroom doors to prevent that sort of behavior, you have a larger problem. Really? Vaping, skipping class, and fighting. We don't have adults at OPRF who can police the students to eliminate those practices. Vaping and fighting and skipping class, hiding out in the bathroom. Come on. And that's where it's at. That's where it's at OPRF and in so many of these government schools. And yet to listen to residents of these communities in the western burbs, from Oak Park River Forest, out to where I grew up in Wheaton, Naperville area, of northwest to Barrington, North Shore, to listen to them talk about their schools. It's remarkable. It's like, I don't go to their schools. I've never been to many of these schools. I've been to some of them. But you just look at what's going on. You look at the data. You follow the policy prescriptions. You watch a school board meeting or two. I'm convinced it is willful blindness. They're too otherwise informed to not know what's going on. They just cannot deal with it. Again, just tell me the beautiful lies. I've locked in this perception I have of my local government school from 30 years ago, maybe when I went there, when it was, not overtaken by the criminally insane left. And I'm just sticking with that because my property taxes are too high and I got to get the kid through school and on to college and I got too much else going. So I'm just sticking with that perception. I don't want to hear it. Okay, fine. That's fine. I get it. Chris in Elmwood Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I wonder if they've taken the doors off the staff bathrooms, or have they gotten rid of staff bathrooms? Because that's not being fair either. I would think that's almost racist.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Not to mention, I'm sure the staff are vaping and fighting and skipping their teaching assignments as much as the kids are engaged in those sorts of behaviors. Certainly the vaping. I don't know about the fighting. Good grief. Grant and Rockford.
Good morning, Dan. We homeschool our daughter, and anytime it really starts to get a little tough and I have a moment of weakness and consider putting her back in our public school, which is a decent one, the state of Illinois reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing and reinforces me believing what is right, because this is just, that is asinine. And with the mental health screenings that they want to do just to convince your kid to go to Big Pharma, Illinois as a whole, and hopefully we can stop digging and hit rock bottom and bounce back to the top. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Grant. Yeah, mandatory mental health screening. That should be applied to, speaking of the staff, Chris from Elmwood Park, a good point. Let's fold in the staff here. Mental health screening based on some of these policies that are being pursued. It should be mandatory for school board members and administrators. If it's going to be for the kids, because the kids are only part of the problem with what's going on in government schools. Some of the kids, just like some of the school board members and some of the superintendents and some of the teachers. But good grief, it just gets more and more absurd. It is. Every one of these instances is just another indication of adult surrender. They think that they are going to, of course, redefine this like they redefine everything as best practices. It's something called prevention through environmental design. We had top men on this job. Yeah, okay. Best practices. Hardening. I mean, that's not hardening the target, but we get that discussion too. Rather than adults in charge acting like they're in charge and taking responsibility for what occurs under their charge. That is something that is completely foreign. Jeff in Rolling Meadows.
Yeah, I went to Rolling Meadows High School. My brother went there in 1971, and I believe that school was built with no doors on the bathrooms. It's like a zigzag.
Couldn't afford them.
No, well, yeah, I guess, but I think it was, the fighting and stuff and the smoking and all that. But you can't see into the bathrooms because it's like a zigzag to get in.
Yeah, like an airport bathroom or something like that.
Right. Yeah, but they were built that way, and I think that school was built in the late '60s. So I'm not sure. So it's nothing new that that thing of no doors on the bathrooms.
Well, okay, and thanks for the call, Jeff. That's fine. There's nothing new in this world, only the history you don't know. That's why we have Frank from Arlington Heights. But the point is why they're doing it at OPRF right now. And I don't know, maybe that was a best practice in architecture called prevention through environmental design. Maybe that's been redefined as something au courant for the purpose of preventing vaping and fighting and so forth. What's that sign say? No bare feet. Not that sign, the other sign. No fighting. What's it mean? It means no fighting. Maybe you just need a sign. But the point is the abdication. I mean, this is what you're focused on. If you have a vaping, fighting, and skipping class problem, the response is to remove the external doors to the bathroom. You think that's getting to the crux of the issue? Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dan. Good morning.
Good morning.
When I was in school, there were areas in the school that had no doors on the stalls. Nothing quite says, "Hey, I'm having a rough time in here," with people walking by doing general commenting on bathroom things. Needless to say, they weren't used much. And then later on in the year, I think I saw a memo from one of the vice principals about rampant constipation being a problem among students.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how much crime it stopped. I do know that it stopped people doing serious work at school.
Yeah, well, I guess that's already built into what's going on at school, so there's no need to double down on that. Yeah, thanks for the call, Ralph. Frank in Arlington Heights on my mind now. Frank, Board of Trade.
Yeah, I remember in high school we did not have metal detectors. I had one at home. It was called my mother.
Uh-huh.
And the time that I spent in high school, I don't recall any fights in the men's room anywhere, except the one that I was in, and I won.
Congratulations. Was it like a My Bodyguard thing? Were you defending somebody else who was being bullied, Frank? Was it a heroic story?
Well, yeah, I was being bullied, so that's why we had an exchange.
All right. There you go. All right. Don't mess with Frank. Thanks for the call, Frank. This is a fun story out of Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the way. Although this, boy, I don't know. A freshman at Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. On the first day of school, you have to kiss your mom goodbye when she drops you off, and there are seniors there. Like it looks to me like most of the senior class there to make sure that you kiss your mom and cheerlead for you when you do. I mean, this is sort of a wild practice. I kind of like it, though I would have been, terribly embarrassed as well. But yeah, she drops you off. She pulls into the circle. Everybody's there and they need to witness you kiss your mom on the cheek before you're allowed into school through the senior class. I think that sounds like a little bit more productive culture than maybe what's happening at schools like OPRF. Marion in Bensonville.
I had 6 children graduate from Oak Park High between 1972 and 1981, and then 6 grandchildren graduated. The last one was 8 years ago. Oak Park likes to be first in everything. Back in the late 70s, they had an area outside of the school that they allowed the kids to smoke in because there was too much smoking in the bathrooms then.
Right.
And I questioned the school board about giving them a place to smoke because it was illegal for them to be purchasing cigarettes. And they said, it was better to have it outside. Instead of trying to do something about the problem, they just opened up another area.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, Marion. Thanks for the call. I guess they're not first with this, at least according to Jeff from Rolling Meadows, but maybe for this specific purpose. But if that's what OPRF likes to do, then I guess we can look forward to OPRF having an on-site marijuana dispensary for the kids as well. Things have deteriorated considerably since since your last grandkid went to OPRF 8 years ago. Back in those days, particularly those who matriculated at OPRF in the 70s, they probably were more interested. They certainly were more proficient in imparting knowledge and skills like reading and math on the students there. But there are other priorities these days. I understand.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey,
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just sticking on bathrooms for a moment. I don't know why Winsome Sears is struggling so much against Spanberger and that Virginia governor's race, which will be decided in November. Winsome Sears, lieutenant governor, conservative Republican, really solid, really like her. But the job Youngkin did, combined with the lunacy of the left, Spanberger vowing to scrap Youngkin's immigration order if elected governor. She basically is vowing to make Virginia a sanctuary state if she is elected. And she's presented by the D.C. press corps some sort of moderate. I mean, there just is no such thing in that party today. Winsome Sears, who is a black woman, a military service too, but a black woman. This is perfect. This went viral. Some old raffle, or maybe just an awful honky chick, raffle, awful, had this sign at a rally against Winsome Sears and for boys and girls' spaces, bathrooms, locker rooms. This is what her sign said. And there are two American flags tied to either end of the sign. Hey, Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. I mean, wow. There are multiple layers of ignorance there. She is proudly displaying the sign. She's holding it up with both hands, at this little rally of new Marxists. And then somebody pulls her aside and says, your sign's getting a lot of attention. You may want to have it generate less attention. Hey, Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. Is it your water fountain? The front of the sign that was hoisted by this old honky bag. Hey, Winsome, you have a gender-neutral bathroom in your house. This is what you're dealing with. She could easily be a school board member or a superintendent at, I would say, most suburban school districts in Chicagoland. This is the mentality. Bit of a challenge, don't you think? We're going to see if the normies, maybe we'll see this cycle, if the normies still exist in Illinois in significant numbers. We're going to see if they exist in Virginia first in those numbers. Quickly, Deborah in Arlington Heights. Hi, Deborah.
To a District 214 school that I will not name, but the fighting with the greaser girls, that's going to date me, and the smoking in the girls' bathroom across from the cafeteria got so bad they took the door off.
Thanks, Deborah. We're up against the clock, but I think we all saw Grease, but I do appreciate the call. All right, coming up at 8:08, we will return to the fallout from the horrific school church shooting in Minneapolis yesterday. Mary Fiorito joins us at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Minneapolis in mourning. Gianna Gelosi, Fox News. The FBI launching a hate crime investigation following the deadly shooting at a back-to-school mass in Minneapolis. The community coming together there for a vigil of mourning after a gunman opened fire through the stained glass windows of a Catholic church, killing 2 children who were praying and injuring 17 others.
Hundreds of people came together relying on their faith and each other. Pope Leo sent a message. After the shooting, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar thanked the White House for immediately asking what the community needs. But Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said more needs to be done to prevent gun violence. The gunman is identified as Robin Westman, a 23-year-old born as Robert Westman. He and his parents filed to change his name to Robin in 2019 because he identified as female. Westman's exact motive still hasn't been explained by authorities.
And that's Fox's Nate Foy in Minneapolis. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claims the shooter had a rifle magazine with the words "For the Children" on it. Elsewhere in Minneapolis, Democrats were at their summer meeting trying to get a strategy together after their 2024 election losses.
Democrats pitching progressive ideas like packing the Supreme Court. One delegate even argues that things were better during COVID. Democrats claim they've overperformed expectations in more than 40 special elections around the country since President Trump took office. Still, one veteran Democrat believes the party remains clueless on crime as President Trump commandeers control of the D.C. police. The DNC concluded its meeting in Minneapolis shortly after a deadly shooting at a nearby Catholic elementary school. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom said the country can't even get through the first week of school without a shooting. Newsom said, quote, "The GOP will do absolutely nothing on gun violence," adding it was, quote, "sick."
And that's Fox's Chad Pergram. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 65 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Chicago Board of Education is expected to vote today on the Chicago Public Schools budget proposal. The district laid out a plan that aims to fill a $734 million budget deficit. The proposal didn't include a loan, and CPS leaders said that they would only pay a $175 million pension payment if the school district received extra revenue from TIF surplus funds. The school is scheduled to swear in a new member before voting on the budget. President Trump's plans for possibly targeting Chicago are being revealed. The Sun-Times reports an email sent this week by Navy Captain Stephen Yargaz to his leadership team says agents with the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection would be housed at the Naval Station Great Lakes near North Chicago from September 2nd through the 30th. Yargaz says that these operations would be similar to what happened in Los Angeles earlier this summer, adding that they could receive support from the National Guard. He said the operation would focus on downtown Chicago, and a formal request for assistance still required approval from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Illinois drivers are being reminded to be safe and sober on the roadways over Labor Day weekend. The Illinois Department of Transportation, Illinois State Police, and law enforcement agencies say anyone who drives under the influence of alcohol, cannabis, or any other impairing substance will get pulled over as part of the National Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over safety campaign. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shoppers were looking for bargains at dollar stores this summer. Dollar General shares are up 5% after an upbeat quarter. Sales rose and shoppers were spending more per visit. You may be paying more for lunch meat and peanut butter. Hormel expects to raise some prices in coming months. Shares of Hormel are down more than 5%. The maker of Spam, Jennie-O, Skippy, and many other food brands is reporting a disappointing quarter. Sales rose rose, but it was paying more for ingredients. More than 600 GE aerospace workers are on strike at plants in Kentucky and Ohio after failing to reach a new contract agreement. Artificial intelligence chipmaker NVIDIA saw a dramatic increase in sales in the recent quarter, but Wall Street was hoping for an even stronger forecast. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda, invested in you.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Be prepared for tax changes in 2025. Without a solid strategy, you could risk losing more of your hard-earned savings than necessary. VestGen Wealth Partners can help develop proactive tax plans designed to help keep more money in your pockets. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com for a free review.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 24 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 30 minutes. Outbound is about 21 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 49 minutes. Outbound is 31 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 52 minutes. Outbound is about 26 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 30 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. This traffic update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need a last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine, along with a few thunder showers in the morning and a chance of showers later on. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with the low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Returning to our discussion about the mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic School Church yesterday in Minneapolis. 8 and 10-year-old were murdered, 17 other people injured. This trans individual, 23-year-old trans individual, opened fire. Estimates I saw between 50 and 100 shots into this church where these grade school kids were attending Mass. We have some information about motive. So you heard the motive's not determined yet because this guy's all over the place. Guy identifying as a girl. 7-minute video he posted that scans weapons and magazines laid out on his bed, ostensibly his bed, with messages he scrawled on them: kill Donald Trump, Israel must fall, kill Trump now, burn Israel, 6 million wasn't enough, derogatory comments about Latinos, about blacks. We have some other bits and pieces of his musings. He apparently decided killing, quote, children of innocent civilians would bring him, quote, the most joy, unquote, from journal entries. Quoting him, for good would be a target or political or societal significance. Targets like Musk, Trump, or some significant exec. I can't really put my finger on a specific person. It definitely won't be for racism or white supremacy. While I don't really like being around people of color, I don't give enough of a blank about them to take my own life for them. These are his journal entries. I don't want to do it to spread a message. I do it to please myself. I do it because I am sick. Do it to please myself. I don't do it for spread a message. I do it to please myself. You know, that not surprising, those sort of nihilistic tendencies, like changing your sexual identity at the age of 17, and apparently with support of mom and or dad. I guess mom and dad are divorced, married for 25 years. Mom had previously worked at the school, at Annunciation Catholic School. She has provided such wonderful hospitality, friendship, and compassion to all who gathered for the last 5 years at Annunciation. You'll be missed. Congratulations on your retirement. That was what the church wrote when Mary Grace Westman, who spent 5 years working as a secretary at the school, retired in 2021. There's a lot of nice things that are being said about her, including by her brother, who is a former Republican state legislator in the Kentucky General Assembly. But one of the issues, of course, is how did you not know all of this was going on with your son, starting at the age of well before the age of 17, starting when he was moving in the direction of pretending to be a woman. By the way, we also understand not only did the killer go to that grade school, Annunciation. For high school, he went to, this is not a punchline, it just is bitter irony, Minnesota Transitions Charter School, and then transferred to St. Thomas Academy, which was an all-boys school. A lot of questions here. What we're told, as I've mentioned all morning when we discussed this now, from the political leadership in Minneapolis and D.C., Gavin Newsom's blaming guns, and Jacob Fry and others, mayor of Minneapolis, in that trans sanctuary state where they're litigating against the Trump administration over quote-unquote gender-affirming care, the right of parents and medical professionals to mutilate kids. Up there, from that set, we're told, what do you think? This is a moment to rally around the trans community, because Jacob Fry knows that it's only through love that we overcome hate.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
I just want to go back through something that I said in part earlier in the show. Thinking through this more, I just have a more fully formed perspective. Again, per our friends at Catholic Vote, 500 Catholic churches have been attacked since 2020. 500. If those had been mosques, synagogues, the temples of some other faith tradition, you'd think you would know about it. 500 Catholic churches attacked since 2020, the incidence of violence spiking after the Dobbs decision. This does not include pro-life and pro-family organizations who've also been subjected to violence. Under Biden and Wray, the FBI targeted Catholics who attended Latin Mass as possible domestic terrorists, memorialized that characterization in a memo that was distributed to more than 1,000 FBI personnel across the country and who knows how many more in the activist ranks. It's not that long ago that Dick Durbin, in a Supreme Court confirmation hearing, queried Amy Coney Barrett about her Catholic faith, asking if she was an Orthodox Catholic, as the implication clearly being like, are you one of those extremist Catholics who believes in Catholicism? Over the last, 15 years, since the run-up to the Obergefell decision, to oppose marriage redefinition, even particularly on the basis of at least some basis in faith, is to be a homophobic bigot. That's the message that the cultural institutions sent to the culture. Most of them. And frankly, including some within Catholic ranks or so-called Catholic ranks. But to oppose marriage redefinition is to be a homophobic bigot. To believe a man pretending to be a woman is the same as an actual woman is to be a transphobic bigot. To believe in the sanctity of human life is to be a misogynist. And yet in the wake of another mass shooting by a trans individual on a Catholic school campus, who, as I mentioned, also expressed viciously ignorant and violent views against Jews and others, we're told by identitarian Pauls like Fry in Minneapolis to rally around the trans community. So here's how it worked. Disagreement is an accelerant to violence when the target is part of their New Marxist Party's coalition. To disagree with a member of their coalition. To disagree with the trans community is actually to villainize them, which is to target them. To actually villainize Catholics, the way I've described above with just a few examples, to actually villainize them and to actually commit crimes of violence against them is to fight right-wing bigotry and save our democracy. So my admonition would be that instead of heeding these phony love overcomes hate calls from proven hate mongers who are the ones platforming the bigotry in the direction of Catholics and others with whom they disagree. Perhaps the order of the day is an interfaith rallying of people of good conscience who believe in peaceful pluralism and live their lives in that way. Maybe that's one thing we can do in addition to offering prayers for the victims and their families. For more on this, please be joined by Mary Fiorito, the Cardinal Francis George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Mary, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
So, your perspective on this, particularly from the viewpoint of to me, I just hear very little in terms of talking about violence that is specifically directed at Catholics and Catholic institutions because they're Catholic. And this is at least in part the case here. And it's not an isolated case. And what we're mainly hearing from the usual suspects is the usual thing.
Yeah. And, what was so disturbing to hear from Jacob Fry, in addition to the comments that you've mentioned, is that, people who were saying our thoughts and prayers are with the victim were somehow, in the wrong for doing so. When, for people of faith, that's the first thing we do when we hear about tragedies. We pray. I mean, we've been taught to do that since we were young children. And in terms of the specifics of this event, there's not a whole lot of, church services throughout the year where you, outside of, say, Christmas and Easter, where you really get that kind of full house. And those back-to-school masses are among them. And I went to them as a child. I know you did as well. And, sitting there with your children, and grandparents are almost always present as well for those things. So that would have been a very full church, again, on a day that's not a holiday, with families together for what is supposed to be, this event that kicks off the school year, asking for the Holy Spirit's guidance for the students. And for that particular, so this wasn't just kind of a regular school mass or a regular Sunday mass. You would have had all the parents there, all the grandparents for the most part. This was a very special family occasion for that parish. And to have that violated in the way that it was, you mentioned if this had happened at a mosque. Well, if it had happened at any kind of congregation on one of their, the most special days for families, I was surprised that the outcry was as muted as it was. I'm very grateful that President Trump has asked for all the flags to be flown at half staff. Mm-hmm. But, again, you would know this as a Catholic, the context of this, because of the kind of event it was, I think that escalates it to a different level. And of course, the shooter, having gone to the school, would have understood the importance of that event as well.
Yeah, and what you're seeing online, too, in a certain quarter is the same thing you saw after the Nashville shooter, the Covenant School shooting in Nashville, where 6 people were murdered. And then the manifesto, that expressed all sorts of anti-Catholic sentiments and other ravings, just like in this case. But the online response in forums like those on Reddit, more dead Christians, LOL. This is Republicans' fault for trying to genocide us. There are people online that are rallying behind the violence that was committed, the murders that were committed, just as they did for the United Healthcare CEO. So this is not representative of the larger population. I wouldn't say it's not even representative of the larger trans-identifying population. But, here's the thing. There's 350 million people in this country. It's estimated that, maybe a little over 1% identify as trans, although that number's bigger within Gen Z and certainly across the quote-unquote gender, sexual-oriented spectrum. It's much bigger. But let's just say stick with 1%. 1% of 350 million people is 3.5 million people. So it's not inconsequential. And it's sort of the same thing we talk about, among, as I mentioned earlier in the program, radicalized Islamists as a small percentage of the larger Muslim population in this country or in the world. It's not representative, but it exists. And it's a problem. And the incidence of violent acts committed by people who identify as trans just in the last few years is substantial enough to have a conversation about, what is going on with an element of this community, if you will, and how should we think about people that some would argue have gender dysphoria, like I would argue, while others argue that this is just a celebration of their true identity as they've discovered it.
Right. And without even acknowledging that there have been plenty of times in the history of medicine in the United States where we have made some pretty grievous errors in terms of how we treat people with particular types of mental illness. For several decades, we used lobotomies. Yeah. That was a standard course of care for some people who, probably were on the autism spectrum or maybe had bipolar disorder, something like that. And now, of course, it wouldn't even come into anybody's mind other than to mock it. But that was a standard course of medical care for people. And those who tried to question it at the time, were called anti-science and quacks and everything else. Well, it turns out they were right. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at this particular incident yesterday from a scientific perspective, people taking cross-sex hormones are, introducing things into their brain development, into their physical development that are not meant to be there. And I would say that just at a minimum, you would want, especially on young adults, adolescent brains, which do not fully form, we know, in men until about the age of 25, and you're introducing hormones that men aren't normally, carrying in their bodies at that particular level. And no wonder you could have some, violent outbursts or acts, that are inconsistent with the person's sort of normal personality. And I don't think there's been nearly enough evidence presented to show that that is not potentially harmful to young people as they're developing. And then just looking at it from the spiritual perspective, which I have to do as a Catholic Christian, there is something particularly evil about attacking children, and even greater evil than when you're attacking children while they're praying. I just can't think of anything that's more demonic than shooting a child who's kneeling in prayer in front of our Lord. I can't wrap my mind around it, and I know people don't want to talk about the presence of evil for the most part because not everybody believes it exists. Well, I think we saw it in action yesterday, and so that's why I'm so offended by the mayor's suggestion that praying is somehow not an effective course for people. And what else are most people supposed to do, Dan? Right? You know what I mean? All they can do is pray. They're not in positions to be able to help or, run out to some rally. But, everybody can pray. My mother always said that, everyone has the time and the ability to do that.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, right. Yeah. Don't pray, but, sign this online petition to ban guns. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, that's the essential, crux of it in terms of what they're proposing. It's all just sophistry. It's sentimentality. It's frustrating. There's no question. How do you think about the mother and the parents in this situation? I mean, 17 years old. This guy changes his name, so mom and or dad must have known and seen something. I assume they knew and saw something before he was 17. He went from that charter high school to a Catholic all boys school. Maybe that was to try and in part address what was ever happening. It's unclear. But boy, oh boy, when you see those weapons and what he scrawled on them and some of these notes that have emerged from his journal, it's really difficult to understand how mom and or dad didn't see anything.
Well, I suppose, that's fair enough. However, I think you need to also realize he was in some kind of public school system, atmosphere for at least some length of time. And in Minnesota, like in Illinois, I think you have a lot of school counselors and school administrators who, for example, will socially transition children, they call it, in school, without telling their parents. They, if the parents try to object and say, no, I want to transfer my child, or I want to put my child into a, some kind of program where, he can perhaps work out some of his emotional issues, they call DCFS on them, the parents become terrified to act in some circumstances because the state is saying, no, your child, or what do we say here in Illinois when we were undoing our parental notice law? Trust teenagers. Nobody who has a teenager trusts them. Right. Are you nuts? I testified. I remember this, Dan, in front of the Illinois Senate on this. I was like, I love my teenagers, but I don't trust them. I mean, honest to God. So I'm
really a commentary there.
Yeah, I hesitate to make a judgment on the parents at this point without knowing a little bit more, because I have friends in public, who send their children to public schools, one of whom their child was being called by a different name at school and they weren't told for like a year. So I do think parents are not brought into the conversation in the same way they might have been when you and I were kids.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and again, you're talking about a state that is in litigation with the Trump administration over transing kids and, is a trans sanctuary refugee camp or whatever Fry and Walls call it. So, that point is well taken. You're right. It deserves more investigation. Mary Fiorito is the Cardinal Francis George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Mary, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago owned, Chicago run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft coming up at 8:38. We'll get federal law enforcement perspective on this mass shooting in Minneapolis, as well as some perspective on mobilizing the National Guard to assist with crime control in major cities. James Fitzgerald, former FBI criminal profiler. You may remember him most famously from the Unabomber case or from his many appearances on our show. James Fitzgerald joins us at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 65 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is ordering flags to be flown at half-staff following Wednesday's shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis.
2 children died and 14 more were wounded in the shooting at the Annunciation Catholic Church. 3 adults were also injured in the attack that happened during a mass to mark the start of the new school year. Minneapolis police identified the shooter as 23-year-old Robin Westman, a former student there who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A possible manifesto written and posted online is being reviewed. The FBI is investigating the attack as a hate crime. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Fired CDC Director Susan Menares is refusing to leave her post.
Menares had been on the job for 2 weeks when the HHS posted on X that she was no longer the CDC's director. Hours later, attorneys for Menares said she has neither resigned nor been told by the White House that she's been fired. Menares' lawyers say their client was targeted after clashing with HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over vaccine policy. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And Google is warning its 2.5 billion Gmail users to change their passwords after a significant amount of successful intrusions by hackers. The tech giant put out a warning this week advising Gmail users to be on high alert for suspicious activity and to add extra security measures like 2-factor authentication. News is a service of Anthony DeGrotto State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, working to provide service and expertise when it comes to combining your home, auto, and life insurance. DeGrottoSF.com. A check on the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
My friend Paula just remodeled her kitchen. I feel bad. It's so bland.
Yeah. Everyone's using the same templated designs these days or just refacing cabinets.
Let's check out Forever Remodeling. They do full and custom kitchen remodels from the ground up, just for us.
It'd be nice to have a kitchen that's truly ours.
Exactly.
Don't get the same kitchen design as everyone else. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only 2 good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 25 minutes. Outbound, 27 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 43 minutes. Outbound is 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 57 minutes. Outbound, 26 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 52 minutes. Outbound is 25 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 40 minutes. Outbound is about 13 minutes. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the JIT master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at straighttalk.com or Walmart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect clouds to give way to some sunshine. There will be a few thunder showers in the morning, followed by scattered showers in the afternoon. The high will reach 75. Tonight will be clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 69. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Muriel Bowser, she is the mayor of D.C. And showed up for a briefing yesterday on the surge in federal law enforcement resources over the last 3 weeks and how that has positively impacted her fair community. Interesting. Concluding with quite a revelatory observation for her.
And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly.
Yeah, we'll wait.
But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
That is quite an insight. When crime goes down, neighborhoods are safer. Right. Now she's starting to get it. Starting to get the feel for this game here. Yeah, you reduce crime, neighborhoods are safer. And people feel safer, because they are. Thank you. But the federal law enforcement piece, so the surge of law enforcement resources over the last 3 weeks has helped considerably. Interestingly, because resources being stretched in Minneapolis, have they ever recovered from the meltdown of their police department in the wake of the George Floyd riots? The abdication of a police precinct? One of the darkest moments in American history, seeing police in a major city give up a police precinct to the mob. Minneapolis, which is quickly becoming Mogadishu, but that's another topic. The local Fox affiliate in Minneapolis talking about the response to the Catholic school church shooting yesterday may have been impeded a bit because resources are stretched, and turns out there's a lot of violence in Minneapolis, too.
It's tactical vest, which it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that the Minneapolis police are under.
Yeah, I'd say there was another mass shooting where 7 people were hit. Yeah, I would say that eats up police resources. Maybe Trump should put Minneapolis on his list. For more on this, James Fitzgerald joins us, retired FBI special agent and criminal profiler from the Unabomber case. now co-host of the Cold Red podcast, which is on Spotify, and Apple, and all the podcast platforms. He's also the author of the A Journey to the Center of the Mind memoir series. And by the way, the Unabomber case, he was featured, played by Sam Worthington, which was a really good series, really entertaining. Was it called Manhunt? I'm going by memory now. It's a couple years old. I think it was Manhunt. James, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, great being on. Yeah, it was Manhunt, Unabomber. And just real quick here, the Bowser from Sha Na Na used to be my favorite.
Yes,
Bowser.
yes.
But the D.C. mayor is coming close.
She did not have a pack of cigarettes rolled up in her sleeve while she offered those comments. But, yeah, she's starting to put the pieces together that law enforcement resources can really do a number on crime at the local level.
Yeah, they call it a surge, but by whatever name, it does definitely seem to be working in D.C. I know a police supervisor in the Metro PD, that's the D.C. PD, and I've been in discussion with him, and he loves it. He first time he feels safe in year. I mean, he's a tough guy cop. He's not afraid to do his job, but he goes every call now. There's like 5 people with him, one from ICE, one from the FBI, I think Secret Service, and they even have lawyers traveling with them so they can make decisions, like I guess DOJ lawyers right on the street. Yeah, arrest him. Yeah, arrest her. So it's really quite each patrol car is like a mini task force, and he's loving it. His colleagues love it. They go into some neighborhoods, people come out and applaud them, and so it's working on every single level, except if you watch some of the media legacy people and the professional pundits, with their profundity. That escapes me to this point in time. But it is working, and that's the good news. Maybe it is needed in some other cities.
Yeah, I was going to say we would, some of us, not all of us, not many of us in public office in Chicago and Illinois, apparently, but a lot of us plebes would like to see the same collaboration here. We're certainly not going to get collaboration with ICE. That's off the table. And it doesn't look like we're going to get collaboration with any desire of the president to federalize the National Guard and deploy it to Chicago. But what is your perspective on that, where you have at least some of the people, and interestingly, people in the most afflicted neighborhoods when it comes to violent crime, saying, yes, whatever resources are available, I'd love to see them come to my neighborhood to make it safer. The local political leadership not responding similarly, and then it's a decision for the president whether or not to take on the criminals in the city as well as the sort of political criminals in public office.
Well, when you think about it, it's essentially Darwinism, survival of the fittest, and whatever way you can help your tribe, your clan, your own person survive, you should be in favor of that. And people are getting bumped off. I don't know the exact numbers in D.C., but certainly several murders a week. Last I checked, it's been almost 2 weeks there without a homicide. So, of course, the people that live through it and who truly want to survive, be it from a Darwinistic perspective or not, they love seeing these other people there. And no one's getting, scooped up and maybe illegals if they come upon them, and certainly criminals, but no other law-abiding citizens have to worry about that. And, I was in the FBI, and we had joint task forces with the NYPD and other police departments, other federal agencies, and they worked together great. And it wasn't always for patrol purposes in which I was involved with them, but I know in the past during certain riot situations, that's how it worked out. And it eventually quelled the riots and the disturbances, whatever was happening. We just saw it in L.A. back in June or so. So, of course, this notion works, but I think because it's attached to the word Trump adjacent, as they would like to say, it automatically has to be seen as oppression, tyranny, authoritarianism, and of course it has to be, orange man bad, so any idea by him is bad, even if it means demonstrably, quantitatively proving it's saving lives. That's not good enough. And really, the ones usually dying, there are exceptions, it's usually black on black crime. And guess what? At least in D.C. for the last almost 2 weeks, no black people have died. You think that would be a really great thing for the pundits to celebrate? But now I guess black lives don't really matter when politics are involved.
Yeah. The argument, we heard it on this show earlier from a state legislator here, is, well, he's trying to middle the issues, like everybody should collaborate. So he's open-minded to the National Guard being added to the effort here, but everybody should collaborate. Well, okay, what happens when the locals don't want to collaborate for political reasons? Well, we need a plan. And the problem is we don't have a plan, and so we don't know how the National Guard would interact with police. I mean, is that really a problem? I mean, the leadership of the National Guard, is there something to be afraid of with respect to the National Guard? You're telling me the police chief in Chicago and the head of whatever National Guard deployment may come won't sit down and figure out who's going to do what and where the lines of demarcation are, just like ICE is doing right now with city police departments like Chicago that are not allowed by law to cooperate with them?
No, they could formulate an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, which other task forces of which I was a part had those set up, and they could do that in 10 minutes and put that together. It's not the men and the women in the lower ranks, the worker bees, and probably not even the top of the National Guard. I don't think that's political in most military units, but certainly chiefs of police, commissioners, superintendents, whatever their title, they're the ones that get caught up in the political aspect of things, and they have to do what the mayor tells them because, of course, they're appointed. Sheriffs are different because they're elected by the people. You don't see, ironically, where sheriffs are in charge, you don't have the problems that are happening to these larger cities where the mayor appoints the chief of police for whatever political reason they're put in that position. So, this would be a very simple process. The National Guard could really just their job, they don't, unless they're deputized with arrest powers and all, they could really just, station themselves at certain intersections, certain high crime areas, and let the regular police officers go in, and they can spread out and get the ancillary crime going on, and pick and choose that way, and have a better response time to the calls. Sometimes these shots fired, it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, probably even longer in Chicago until officers even show up. So, this would be a very easy team effort to put together, and it's almost like an all-star team. Give them a few practices, NBA, whatever, and they're going to gel pretty well. Let them meet each other, have some joint training session over the course of a day or two, and they're ready to hit the streets and stop crime. But for whatever reason, politicians, some of them, don't like this, and it's a sad story.
I wanted to get your take on the Minneapolis Catholic school church shooting yesterday. So just refresh our recollection. The FBI is there now, was there, basically immediately. And so what happens now in the wake of something like this? Give us, some insight into the process of what the FBI does to try to tackle the situation and identify the motivation and go from there.
Well, this is a state crime. The Minneapolis PD or whatever county that is, but certainly, state prosecutors will be the one. Well, if the shooter was alive, they'd be the one running this case. And they are running the investigation now. Last I heard, there were 4 search warrants being served, one on the church, which is very routine to have a search warrant, even for the crime scene. This covers all their bases down the line. And at least 3 residents associated with this shooter. And you know me, Dan, I never mention the name of these shooters or these killers on the media.
I try to do the same.
But everyone knows we're talking about him or her, depending on what media outlet you read.
It's him here.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm not even sure he knew what he was, but we can come back to that. But so the FBI, they will be reviewing some of the documents. They will be lending, assistance. They can come in with different teams that help set up computer databases that they can put everything in there. And they may be helping the local PD doing some interviews of family, but it's really being run by the local PD. I mean, I was in the middle of the D.C. sniper case 25 years ago. I covered that in detail in my latest book. Thanks for mentioning A Journey to the Son of the Mind, book 4. And although every alphabet agency in D.C. was helping out by the second week, it was still Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department running the show. And, of course, that's what we're happening here. 2 different cases, I know, but they're running the show here. So FBI, ATF, they'll be tracing guns, who bought them, ammunition and what kind of practice ranges did he go to, and they'll figure those things out. But this is essentially a state case. They may work in coordination with the profilers and other FBI personnel to put together some sort of behavioral assessment of this person. It's not a profile once the person's identified. So they'll work hand in hand, and they'll do the right job. The worker bees will get together fine. We'll see what the bosses up the top say. If some conclusion comes out that they don't like reading, and we'll see what's redacted from the report then, which, knowing Minneapolis and the current FBI, which I think is being run relatively well, if it's put out there some things that are not favorable to certain political causes, the Minneapolis people may want that report redacted or not released, like they tried to hide the Nashville manifesto, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, speaking of that, so Nashville Covenant School, Colorado Springs in 2022, Denver, Colorado in 2019, Aberdeen, Maryland in 2018, Texas ICE agents ambushed in 2025, all trans assailants, people identifying as trans. At some point, does the FBI get into the business of trying to profile within a particular community people that are prone to, again, small segment, I get it, but once you see it repeat itself enough times, a small percentage of a relatively big number can be a relatively big problem. Any sort of profiling of a particular demographic when it comes to incidents that have similarities over the course of several years and including several incidents?
Well, let me answer it this way. Prior to this January of 2025, no, the FBI would have stayed away from that, or very cautiously and
quietly,
very cautiously keep that language out of it. I would like to think today's FBI, and I know people in it, and you would have an objective. That's what we want: objective, unbiased report. And I think anytime there is one segment of society that is doing these killings, we heard, for the last 4 years, 2021 to 2025 early, that white supremacists and toxic white males were the causes of all these problems. Well, this was a white male that shot yesterday, but this person falls into a whole different subcategory of the trans community. So absolutely, this should be studied. And as I said, I was on with Laura Ingraham last night, and I was saying, I think I used to always talk about, the kind of the bench plate material or options of like doing a psychological autopsy, behavioral analysis of the person, interview all these people from his past. But what I really want to see when these shooters from this point on, I want to see the physical autopsy. I want to get a toxicological report of his, not just his blood right now, but I want to go back to his childhood, and I want to find out every single drug this person's on. And Dan, I think on your program, I mentioned this before, but I think there's some kind of a dangerous porridge that we're putting into these kids today. And you mix in the internet and gaming and, dark web, all these other factors. And there is something that's destroying brain synapses one way or the other. Legal drugs, illegal. Are we talking Ritalin back in the day? Are we talking pot smoking? Are we talking even some of these vaccines untested, certainly in the last 5 years or so? I would want to get a complete picture. Of course, of all these types of young male shooters that, come from, at least on the surface, decent backgrounds. They're not growing up, in some, a shanty somewhere with no money, and they're stealing just to feed themselves. This kid was, apparently raised in Minneapolis with the burbs from yesterday, and, 6 or 7, I think 6 siblings. And I mean, where did that go wrong? And I also said last night, Dan, that fathers have to take more of a role in their lives. And there's too many fathers. I even made the comparison. We hear about the black community and lack of fathers, and that may be legit, and that's another discussion. But I think there's some white fathers in that community who just don't know how to say no to their kids, or they're letting their wives run them and the mothers run the show. Nothing wrong with that. But for young men, they need fathers to say, hey, no, you're not doing that. Maybe grab the kid by a collar once in a while, walk him to his bedroom, sit him down, and say, all right, you're in here with no phones, nothing for the rest of the day. And I guarantee you, I can't say guarantee, but there's a very high probability that this kid from yesterday, I'm calling him kid, he was 23, the shooter from yesterday probably rarely had no said to him in his life. And that's a sad sign because there's a lot of young kids like that today.
100%. James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case. Manhunt is the series. You want to check that out. Co-host of the Cold Red podcast on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. And again, author of the series A Journey to the Center of the Mind, his memoir series. Jim Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, Dan. Thanks.
Take care. And James Fitzgerald joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line, which takes us to the end of the program today. We shall see you tomorrow for more on this topic and others. It is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Transcending faith.